to hack the sky. You just need to fly high. It will be cold for a while, but at the end of time I will be on your side. Whoa, please don't go too far. Whoa, please don't go too far. If you want to travel miles, pack your dreams and thrive outside. I will be here for advice while you get into the wild. Whoa, please don't go too far. Whoa, please don't go too far. If you want to leave this world and just leave my heart alone in the dark, I remember we used to smile, but please don't go too far.
Good evening, Vacaville. This is the 6 p.m. regularly scheduled meeting. It is actually 6:15 here at the City Hall, Vacaville City Council meeting. Do I have a roll call?
Council Agency Authority Member Stockton. Here. Ritchie. Here. Silva. Here. Freemouth. Here. Wiley. Here. Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Chapman. Here. Mayor Chair Carley.
Here. And if you are able, will you please stand with me for a moment of silence followed by the pledge. Councilmember Ritchie, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Ready? Go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We just came out of closed session. There's 4 items on closed session, and we covered 2 items. There's nothing to report out. After this council meeting, we'll go back into complete closed session. But moving on to the item 4 and now 5, do I have an approval agenda? Is there any changes?
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, reports of the City Council. So any updates that the council would like to share on any recent board meetings? I think the only thing that I would say is it's not a report out of a prior meeting, but tomorrow night STA meets. I represent the City of Vacaville on that one. There is likely going to be a presentation that discusses the routes that affect Vacaville or in the North County with the blue line and the green line. It's our position that what we're trying to do is just make sure that the routes actually are beneficial for our residents. And I know that our Public Works Director sits on a working group, and there's a lot of discussion, contention that's going on. The point is if you're interested, it's tomorrow night. The reality is these lines serve the City of Vacaville from here, not just going down to the Bay Area, but also going to Davis. And so it could be interesting because there's a difference of opinions, and we believe that these routes need to serve our community. And when they're talking about cutting hours, what it does is it makes public transportation unstable, and then people don't use it, and then it's a vicious cycle. And so with that, no other reports. The next thing is the appointment of Carla Valdez as our commissioner to the Solano County Commission for Women and Girls to represent the City of Vacaville. And I know that this has been a discussion over time. We finally got it here. So I'd like to invite Carla up here to the podium and introduce yourself and be able to share a few words, as you will likely be representing the City of Vacaville.
Good evening. My name is Carla Valdez. May I read?
Sure.
As first-generation college graduate, Mexican-American immigrant, teacher, parent, and 36 years resident of Vacaville, I'm deeply committed to advancing the mission of the Solano Commission and Women and Girls. My lived experience uniquely positioned me to advocate for and represent diverse women and girls in our community, particularly those that are facing socioeconomic challenges. My journey as an immigrant and first-generation college graduate has given me firsthand understanding of the barriers women and girls, especially those from underrepresented communities, face accessing education, economic opportunities, social support. This experience fueled my passion for creating pathways to success for women and girls in Solano County. As an educator, I have dedicated my career to empower young girls and have witnessed the critical roles of advocacy, resources, and supporting policies that played in shaping futures. I understand the importance of education, equity, and economic stability for women and girls, and I'm committed to bring this perspective to the Commission's work. As a parent, I'm invested in ensuring that the next generation of girls in Solano County has access to opportunities safely and equitably. my deep roots in this community, spanning over 30 years, have given me the insight into evolving needs of our diverse population and the challenges facing women and families across our county. I'm eager to contribute to the Commission's goal of educating our Board of Supervisors, advocating for legislative solutions, and organizing forum that addresses critical issues affecting and amplifying the unrepresented voice and work collaboratively toward meaningful changes. I'm honored to be considered for this appointment, and I look forward to serving Solano County women and girls with dedication and with purpose.
Well, I can tell you that I truly appreciate your commitment, your history, and you're willing to serve this council, and for that reason, it's my recommendation to appoint you to this position. And all I am asking for, and I think I'm going to look to you, Councilmember Wiley, to make a motion. I'm going to let you make a motion.
I make a motion that we appoint Carla Valley, is that correct, as the commissioner to Solano County Commission on Women and Girls. And I thank you for already attending a meeting and supporting and showing your interest. And we think you will serve the city of Vacaville wonderfully as a commissioner for that.
Thank you.
We have and the Vice Mayor will second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we will then move on to item 8, presentations. Tonight we have the National Community Planning Month proclamation. Our community. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get things going. But while you're coming up here, the reports of the city manager, I'd already turned my page, so I apologize to our city manager, Savita Chaudhry. What do we have tonight?
So Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, good evening. Today we have a little video to talk about our COV Connect event. Corey, if you can play the video, please.
Vacaville my entire life, and just seeing the changes that it's gone from the 80s onward is we've seen a lot of ups and downs. And what we continue to see over time is people stepping up, working for a better life, and sometimes we just need a little help.
Pues es de maravillas que ayuden, porque pues uno solo a veces no acumula muchas cosas ahí, no las junta uno, y ya cuando hay la oportunidad y luego vienen a ayudarle a uno, pues le cae a uno de maravilla.
It's really important to me to see our council members, our city leaders, our staff being there in the community, engaging with them, providing a service to them, and how we can make a difference, whether it's through making connections, helping them with their homes, or how we can provide that support that they need.
What brings me out to volunteer my time to this community is just the sense of pride and togetherness that this community has and what it represents. Recently, I participated in a cleanup day in which one of the neighborhood association representatives just really was able to talk about how important it is to have these type of events in her community, and that's what really helps me understand what the community feels about where they live. There's a sense of pride here that the residents have that is really inspiring.
The fact that our community is always so willing and giving to not just volunteer time, but different resources, finding different ways to support one another, it just lets us know that everybody in this particular city, everybody in our city matters.
Well, with this, I would like to thank our staff, our volunteers, our vendor partners who donated a lot of equipment, and specifically our Fire Marshal, Jill Childers, who led this effort, and it would not have happened without her leading this effort. So special thanks to her. The second update that I have is the city is coming to a conclusion to their first 5-year strategic plan in June of 2026. So we have embarked upon the process for developing the next strategic plan for the city. We have a resident survey that's out there where we would like to understand your perspective as a community member about the importance of the level of service that the city provides. So please take a few moments and complete the questionnaire. There will be more information coming out on future focus groups that will be open to the community, as well as the dates for the council strategic planning session. So we'll have more information by end of this month. Thank you. That's my update.
Yeah, thanks for the update, and great work to the city and those volunteers and staff for the neighborhood cleanup. It's certainly something that's very special for our city, and so. And then you see, do you like, you have like your Actors Guild? You speak very well when you represent.
Try to learn from you, man.
I really do appreciate, thank you to staff. It really is important that staff gets out and is involved. So we'll move on to item 8, presentations, National Community Planning Month. So now our Economic Community Development Director, come on forward. I'm going to go ahead and read this, and then I'm sure you'll have a few thoughts for us. Whereas change is constant and the affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, and rural areas and other places, and whereas planners can help navigate this change with data-driven insights and expertise that provide better choices for how people work and live, and community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public, elected, and appointed officials who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation, and whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States and its territories, and the American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as the opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to every community and how planners are uniquely positioned to identify solutions to communities' most difficult housing, transportation, and land use questions. And the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the Planning Commission and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Vacaville. And we recognize the many valuable contributions made by the professional planners of our city and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by our staff. Now therefore be it resolved that I, John Carley, Mayor of the City of Vacaville, and on behalf of the Vacaville City Council, do hereby proclaim October 25 Community Planning Month in the City of Vacaville in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Carley and members of council. I just want to thank you for, again, celebrating Community Planning Month. I'm very fortunate to lead a department with some amazing, dedicated public servants who are dedicated to the planning profession. And I also feel like Vacaville is equally blessed to have a planning commission that is really committed to being a positive asset in the public process. So I'll keep this short and sweet. Thank you so much for recognizing the contributions planning makes to the City of Vacaville.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your hard work. And next is Cybersecurity Awareness Month proclamation. Clearly this year's theme is Secure Our World and Stay Safe Online. And so why don't you come on forward? You get to stand at the podium while I read this, and then I know you're going to share a few words. So, whereas technology touches nearly every part of life in the City of Vacaville, from emergency communications and traffic management to water treatment, utilities, finance, and public safety operations. And protecting these systems is vital to community well-being. And cyber attacks such as phishing, ransomware, identity theft, and data exfiltration continue to grow in frequency and sophistication, threatening the privacy, financial security, and essential services relied upon by residents, businesses, and the city itself. And whereas national partners, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, also known as CISA, and the National Cybersecurity Alliance have declared October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month, urging everyone to embrace the 2025 national theme, Secure Our World, and practice the guiding message of Stay Safe Online. And whereas the City of Vacaville actively invests in cybersecurity through advanced network protections, 24/7 threat monitoring, employee security awareness training, and partnerships with the state and federal agencies to safeguard public resources and data. And every resident and organization plays a critical role by updating software using strong and unique passwords. You make sure of that all the time. Try and remember them all. Enabling multi-factor authentication, recognizing phishing attempts, and reporting suspicious activity. And whereas building a culture of cybersecurity strengthens economic stability, protects sensitive information, and ensures the continuity of government services, creating a safer digital environment for future generations. So now, therefore, be it resolved that I, John Carley, Mayor of the City of Vacaville, on behalf of the Vacaville City Council, do hereby proclaim October 25 Cybersecurity Awareness Month in the City of Vacaville and call upon all residents and businesses to join together to secure our world and stay safe online. Thank you. Congratulations. Would you like to share a few words? Put you on the spot.
Thank you, council members, Mayor. Cyber attacks are more frequent and growing in sophistication. Phishing, ransomware, data theft, targeting not only governments but individuals and families. That's why awareness matters. Each of us has a role in using strong passwords, turning on multi-factor authentication, and staying alert to suspicious emails and messages. Again, this year's national theme is Secure Our World. It is a call to action. The City of Vacaville continues, again, to investing in the 24/7 monitoring, staff training, and partnerships to protect our networks and residents' data. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility, and by working together, we can keep Vacaville safe both online and in our daily lives, and I really do appreciate everyone's support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I've worked with Keith McDonald for years and years, and I appreciate all that you've done trying to make sure that every time somebody needs to use their system, it's seamless, but more importantly, because of having a background in cybersecurity and network intrusion, I greatly appreciate what this means, because cities are under tremendous risk of soft targets, and our technology is one of the easiest ways. And so I appreciate it, and thank you for all the hard work you do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And please pass that along to your entire staff. That goes for Aaron Morris as well. We thank you for all that our teams do each and every day. Sometimes it feels thankless, but on behalf of the council, please offer our sincere thanks and appreciation. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item 9. It's the consent calendar. Any member of the council or the public wishing to pull an item for discussion, please let me know now. Anybody? Seeing none, then I will go ahead and ask for a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we will move on to item 10. Item 10 is business from the floor. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item that's not on the agenda but is within the council's jurisdiction. Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'd like to clear up a couple misconceptions that were mentioned at the last council meeting about Vine Street. When we purchased our home over 31 years ago, there were only 57 homes on the custom homes on the 1.6 miles of Vine Street. Including Wesley and all courts, the total was approximately 100 custom homes. No one objected to our house being built back in the 1950s or any of the other homes being built. But when a developer wanted to cram in 89 tract homes to the east of the traffic circle, which didn't exist at that time, and in the valley across the street from me, destroying the topography by filling up the dirt and putting a big masonry sound wall up, yes, we all fought. And we saved the valley by compromising with the developer, giving up custom homes and lot sizes on the east of the traffic circle. In response, so we in the city would not have to continue to go through this again and again, on June 11th, 2002, the city established our special standards custom home overlay and the RE20 zoning for all future development north of the traffic circle. It was part of the compromise. Over the years, people invested and built knowing about these standards. All we want is a developer to follow the established standards. The applicant purchased the property, on 28 December of 2018 and knew about the standards for a couple of decades. Lastly, when the residents talk about the coyotes and the wildlife, they are not saying that they want deer over development. What they are saying is Vine has a unique character with our topography and our custom homes. The neighbors down the street ride their horses in front of my house. There are only a few areas left close to downtown where you can build a custom one-story with room to breathe. Every infill development in the city should represent the character of the street. People shouldn't drive by and say, what on earth is that doing here? It should just flow unnoticed. That's what quality of life is all about in each of our neighborhoods, including the view from Markham. Please consider this as you decide on your upcoming votes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you for listening to our concerns. Got a bunch of notes I wrote here, so bear with me. I'm Les Harris. I'm the chair of the Browns Valley Association, Neighborhood Association, and I'm here to share some concerns regarding the dirt that's been brought into Centennial Park. I'm sure you guys are aware of it. If you're not, about 2 weeks ago I was up at the proposed bike park site, and there was a lot of trash and garbage and all kinds of stuff. Landify, the company that's supposed to be bringing in, or the city contracts to bring in this free dirt for the bike park, they promised, this was at the meeting last year, they promised clean dirt, transparency, and close inspections of all the dirt coming in. However, when we saw all this trash, we were very disappointed that the stuff that's been brought in the last couple of months, there's been like pipes, concrete, sprinklers, systems, roof tiles, batteries, fencing, old carpet, and more, and which to me resembled a construction site waste. So, and that was just what was on the surface. So my question is, what is underneath the surface? Is there any toxic material, or what's being brought in? I mean, we live there right by where this is happening, so we're concerned about it. So I took some pictures, and I've got some pictures here I'll leave with you guys of all the stuff we found, plus in my opinion, the cover-up the next day when they brought about 50 truckloads of dirt in to cover it up. It was, within a day of sharing my concerns to the council member, there was maybe 50 trucks, maybe less, I'm not sure, which looked like a blatant attempt to me to cover up all the trash that was there so the public wouldn't find out about it. So as citizens, concerned citizens, we want to know what's going on and what's going to happen from here. Is this just a way for Landify to offload dirt for profit and use our community as a landfill? What's underneath the dirt? And are we going to get an independent organization to inspect it? Personally, I hold the Parks and Rec responsible for this. They misled us as far as I'm concerned, and probably you guys too. And I think they should be held accountable. We're just a couple of months into this project, and there will be 8 more years of dumping here. The residents deserve transparency, which was promised. We are asking for the city, we're asking the city for the truth. And I believe the city should look into this further. If you need to contact me, Councilman Stockton has all my info. I'd love to talk to somebody. And I just want to leave these pictures.
Yeah, thank you. If you could pass them to our city
Thank you
clerk.
very much.
Thank you very much, and I'll have staff look into it. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. They haven't been much in the news lately because they didn't get their way in the last well, they didn't entirely get their way during the last legislative session. But just remember, California Forever never goes away. They're always scheming for their next pitch. I just want to, this is for the benefit of the people here in the audience, because I know all of you have heard from me many times. But California Forever is not going to be Solano County's great benefactor. Many of you, I'm sure, have been beguiled by them, but remember this, people in the audience. Back last year, the county staff did a study, and they pointed out to billions of dollars that the taxpayers will bear as California Forever gets built out. That's not going to be borne by the investors that are making big money out of it. It's going to be borne by the taxpayers. That was billions of dollars. We know Mr. Ritchie, because he's upfront about it, he is in business with California Forever. We don't know what other council members may have been sucked into this. But just remember, all of you, that if you are with California Forever, you are working against the people of Vacaville and the people of Solano County.
Thank you. Good evening.
Council members, Mayor. A couple of things. I went to those meetings about Landify a long time ago when they first came to the city, and I talked about the dirt that they were going to bring in from construction sites, and they said it would be clean and everything else, but I don't know. I haven't been out there in a while, but need to check into that before it's some toxic nightmare out there. And on to something else. I was thinking about the community parks. We need to build some community parks in this city because these little small neighborhood parks aren't big enough. build a community park with swimming pools, soccer, tennis courts, baseball fields, all that. And the way you can pay for that is have a citywide maintenance district. If there's people that use the parks, they don't pay hardly anything or don't pay anything at all. We need to get rid of all these assessed areas and go to a citywide maintenance district. That would help pay for this, okay? We need to step up and do that. They've been talking about it for 40 years, and some parks pay very little, some pay a lot. So I live in an area that's assessed, and I don't mind paying an assessment if I'm getting what I pay for. So I would like to see a community park instead of all these small parks. You go to other cities, and they have these beautiful big parks. We need to go back to that. One more thing. The Joint Unified School District years ago, and Tom Filippi brought that up, and we used to have an agreement with the school district. We used to use their facilities, they use ours. So that would alleviate pressure on some of these parks and things to have more area to play, okay? So if we would work together with the school district, it used to be unified, but I don't know why they use that word anymore. Nothing's unified. We should all work together. One more thing is the fireworks. In the summertime, we have the fireworks. We need not to sign a contract to have fireworks. Why don't we have drones and a light show? Okay, music. The reason I say that, air pollution, fires, burns, hospitals end up with people getting burned by fireworks, all these things. And I know the city's doing it in a secure area, but set an example. It'd be nice to have an example for the city that we don't use fireworks. We have drones and a light show. It can be done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council, staff, and public. My name is Roberto Valdez. I'm a longtime resident here. And as you know me in the past, and I know you from the past too, I'm pretty much in favor of leaving Lagoon Valley alone. I don't support any development out there whatsoever. Keep it as a park. It's our secret gem that people take for granted, but it's there. But I just want to, before I say what I came to ask you about, to investigate, I want to applaud that gentleman who spoke against California Forever. I think you need to take him seriously. I think he's right. I've gone to many hearings in Sassoon, and I've seen pretty much what my impression is that half of the county may be somewhat in favor of it for many reasons, but the other side of the county that is not, including some of you. I think it applies to all of you, the way you're responding to California Forever. But again, I don't support what they're doing at all. For many reasons, environmental especially. But anyway, I'm here because, I'm going to be honest with you. Over the past several months, maybe 8 months, I've been hearing very reliable concerns from people that I know of who have approached me because they know I'm involved with Lagoon Valley over the years. They approached me and they said to me, Roberto, there was a flood out there at the Lower Lagoon Valley project. This was back when we had our first rain, and I think you should be concerned about it because we started to get it this past few days. Probably going to get stronger. The other thing, other people have told me that they found Native American artifacts, and those have not been reported from the developer. And at the same time, I'm hearing, I think about 3 days ago, I heard Mr. John Hansen, the developer from Triad, he proposed to have an environmentally sound community at Lower Lagoon Valley being built. You have approved it, of course. And, I'd just like to get to the bottom of this. I have not, in the past 8 months or 9 months, heard anything from the city about those concerns. And I voiced it to some of you. So
the concerns are the artifacts and the flooding?
I'm sorry?
The artifacts and the flooding?
And the flooding. I'm sure you're also concerned about the fires. I mean, I've seen a lot of controlled burns out there, and I think you're smart to do that, because that will not go away. And I feel sorry for the people that are being lured into buying homes there. They don't know what they're going to be facing. So let's get the facts. Let's put the facts on the table and let people know what they're getting into before you invite them, or the developer invites them to get involved with that project.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and close public comment, and I know there's several items on here that city staff might be able to look into, not tonight, but I think it would be important for the public to understand what's going on with Landify and, you know, any issue out in Lagoon Valley. But for the public, the lower Lagoon Valley is separate than the park out there. No one's doing anything other than enhancing and upgrading the park. So did you have some thoughts, City Manager?
No, we noted the comments and we'll follow up on those.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item 11, public hearings. We have 2 public hearings tonight. We'll start with item A. Madam City Clerk.
Yes, item A is 4 resolutions and an ordinance to consider certifying an environmental impact report and adopting a general plan amendment, annexation, zoning map amendment, tentative subdivision map, and plan development overlay for the McMurtry Creek Estates subdivision. And we have Albertino and Payman Bevan to do the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This item before you tonight is a public hearing for the McMurtry Creek Estates subdivision. This is a request to annex 15.73 acres into the city limits. This is land that's in unincorporated Solano County right now. That's north of Preserve Lane and McMurtry Lane, into the city of Vacaville, and the purpose is to create 20 lots for single-family residential development. There's a variety of land use entitlements before you tonight. The map on the left shows the approximate location in the northwest corner of the entire city. And then the map on the right shows the 2 parcels that would be created. There's 2 faint lines that show the existing parcels, and then the gray portion with the thick black lines. Parcel A would remain and would be annexed into our city limits, and parcel B of 18.6 acres would stay in Solano County. This project originally was brought before the City Council in 2019 when the Council initiated a general plan amendment that allowed the applicant to move forward. A formal application was submitted to the Community Development Department in 2021, and that started the review process for the application. The city had a scoping meeting for the environmental impact report in 2023, as well as another neighborhood meeting for the project to solicit feedback from residents. In 2025, we held a public hearing on the draft environmental impact report to collect public comments on the analysis. This map shows the proposed tentative map that is in association with the entirety of this project, the extension going off of Preserve Lane, leading into 2 cul-de-sacs for 20 lot access. Secondary access would be provided off of McMurtry Lane to the left of the map, as well as a secondary emergency vehicle access that would lead to existing Fire Lane Road off of Whitestone Court. To the right of the map is the Cheyenne development. This project has a variety of different land use entitlements that are before City Council tonight, including a general plan amendment to change the designation of the existing general plan from hillside agriculture to residential estates. Applicants requesting to annex 15.73 acres into the city limits. A pre-zoning would be applicable to this project in the event that it does get annexed, to zone the property to residential estates with a minimum lot size of 12,000 square feet. The applicant is also asking for a tentative subdivision map to create 20 lots for single-family residential development, and also a planned development overlay because they're building a portion of the project that's in an area that's geologically unstable. The setback landscaping and fire access roads, as well as the water quality basins within the development, would be maintained by a homeowners association. This map shows the existing general plan shown on the left and the proposed general plan associated with this amendment. This shows the existing zoning. There is none because it's not in our city limits, and the proposed zoning of RE12. Staff's job is to review the application and make sure that it is compliant with a variety of different regulatory documents that are currently in effect. We took a look at our general plan and found that it would comply with existing general plan policies and that it would not create any inconsistencies with our general plan. The annexation is supportable because the development would be able to be supported by existing services that can be extended to the project site. The applicant would need to submit a subsequent LAFCO application, and that would be dependent on the city completing a municipal services review update and also executing a tax sharing agreement prior to an annexation application submitting to the local agency formation commission. The pre-zoning that would be applied is the RE12, and the city already has existing development standards within our municipal code, so there's no text amendment that's required in order to be able to make this happen. The tentative subdivision map would only be effective if the project is annexed into the city limits for the 20 lots for future custom home development. And I mentioned before that the HOA would be created to maintain all the setback landscaping as well as the emergency vehicle access roads. The planned development's necessary because there's a small portion that's within the hillside area, and that would have to be dug out and reinforced in order to be able to make one of the lots work for the project. Our overall comprehensive review of the entitlements is that it would comply with general plan policies, and all the various entitlements do meet the required findings for approval. Environmental review is also necessary for this project. The type of environmental review includes an environmental impact report. All the other different categories that are analyzed as part of the CEQA document can be mitigated to a less than significant impact, with the exception of transportation and traffic. This project was not anticipated within our general plan, which is why the applicant is requesting for an amendment, but it would add additional vehicle miles traveled, and there's no way to mitigate those impacts, and so we advertised to the public for a 45-day review period starting in March earlier this year, that the project would be able to mitigate impacts associated with all the different categories that's required to be evaluated, with the exception of the transportation and traffic. The final EIR has been published for review. It addresses the public comments that were submitted to the city during the circulation period, and there were no comments that required a recirculation of this environmental analysis. Before you tonight are findings of facts as well as a statement of overriding consideration that the vehicle miles traveled or the transportation traffic can be overridden, and that there are findings of fact to support that overriding circumstances, and staff has identified as those providing that the project would provide executive housing, and it also supports the city's economic development strategy. Project requires review before the Solana Airport Land Use Commission, which was done on April 10th. They found the project to be consistent with the Travis Air Force Base Compatibility Plan Zone E. We also held a public hearing with the Planning Commission on August 19th. The Planning Commission made a recommendation for the City Council to vote. They voted 6-0 to recommend approval. There were a variety of different topics that were discussed. Residents expressed concern about construction and traffic activity affecting existing homes. During the public hearing, it was noted that construction activity would be accessing McMurtry Lane, not Preserve Lane, with the exception of any exceptional deliveries of materials that would be necessary for the project. Construction would be accessing McMurtry Lane as a primary source for construction. Hours of construction will be limited to what's identified within our existing municipal code, which is, I think it's 7 to 6 p.m. There were also concerns about establishing a precedent for annexation of other areas. It should be noted that each entitlement that does request to annex within our city limits is heard independently, and so every single one of those annexation requests would have to come before the City Council. There were also concerns about whether the project would address housing needs. We should note that as part of this project, it is providing an unmet need that was identified in the city's housing needs assessment for executive-style housing. We covered a variety of different public outreach activities throughout the entirety of the project. A lot of the comments that we heard, I just mentioned, there were concerns about traffic, noise with construction, whether or not there is existing water to be able to serve the site. Grading within the hillside area, as well as concern about loss of green space, wildlife, and lots that are too small. There is a conclusion. Staff does support this proposal, as well as the Planning Commission. The environmental impacts can be mitigated to a less than significant level, with the exception of vehicle miles traveled. But staff believes that the City Council can meet the findings for overriding this consideration. A project can be served by existing improvements near the site. It meets the required findings for all the entitlements, and development would be able to comply with development standards that are within our municipal code. Recommendation before the City Council tonight is by simple motion, adopt the subject resolutions as well as introduce the subject ordinance. We did receive a correspondence prior to the hearing, but after the publication of the staff report, which came from Mr. Chris Whitaker, who expressed concerns that there's no internal controls to guarantee that executives would purchase these lots for development. There was also concerns expressed that there's already existing custom homes available over in Lagoon Valley. And then there was concerns about the annexation of agricultural land away from county to rezone to residential development. This concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions. We also have the applicant, Mr. Tom Filippi, who's available to answer any questions, and the city's environmental consultant, LSA Associates.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Any member of the council have any questions? Does the applicant wish to speak? I'm going to open it up to the public for public comment. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close it, bring it back to the council.
I got a quick question.
Councilmember Sill.
Tom, I thought you retired.
Wrapping up loose ends.
I have no questions. Motion to approve.
Motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, staff. Appreciate it. I actually like the timelines in here too. It kind of helps us see the path that it takes to get here. So well done. All right. Item 11B, Madam City Clerk.
This is another item with 4 resolutions and an ordinance to consider certifying a supplemental environmental impact report and adopting a general plan amendment, annexation, zoning map amendment, development agreement, specific plan amendment, and tentative subdivision map for the fields at Alamo Creek subdivision. And Associate Planner Noah Rumbal and Albert Eno and Payman Baban will be giving the presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. The item before you tonight is the proposed fields at Alamo Creek subdivision. So the request before you is to annex 33.6 acres of land located in unincorporated Solano County into Vacaville city limits. This parcel is located south of Hawkins Road and approximately half a mile east of Leisuretown Road. And so by incorporating it into the city of Vacaville, we would, the project also proposes to create a 241 lot subdivision for single family residential development. And the entitlement requests include a supplemental environmental impact report, general plan amendment, and annexation into the city, pre-zoning, development agreement, specific plan amendment to the Farm at Alamo Creek specific plan, and then also the tentative subdivision map. This slide here shows the location of the project site. It's located in the eastern edge of the city limits. On the map to the right, you can see the relationship of this project in regard and related to the approved Farm at Alamo Creek, which was approved by the City Council in 2019. And so just for some background, the City Council adopted in 2015 the 2035 general plan, which outlined the vision for the city up to 2035. And in that general plan, the City Council designated this project site as urban reserve with an agricultural buffer to separate future urban uses from the existing agricultural uses in the county. And then in 2018, the City Council approved the Farm at Alamo Creek, which is a neighboring subdivision just to the southwest of the project site. In 2021, the City Council initiated a general plan amendment to change the urban reserve land use designation to residential medium density to facilitate this project. And in 2022, the city received that formal development application for processing. In 2023, the project was resubmitted with some changes, and that is the current design that is before the City Council tonight. So this slide here shows a map of where the project's located. To the southwest, you can see in purple is the approved Farm at Alamo Creek, which is located currently in city limits. And so the proposed project, the fields at Alamo Creek, which is outlined in green, is proposing to annex into the city and would also connect to the approved farm. So the project consists of many different entitlements, one of which is to change the general plan land use designation from urban reserve to residential medium density. The project would also annex this 33.6 acre parcel into Vacaville city limits so that it can be served by Vacaville city services and public infrastructure. The project would also pre-zone the site. Because it's currently located outside city limits, it doesn't have City of Vacaville zoning. And so once it's annexed in, it would be zoned as residential medium density and public facilities with an agricultural buffer overlay district. The project would subdivide this parcel of land into 241 lots for single family residential development, 153 of those would be for detached single-family homes, and the remaining 88 would be for duets, which are single-family homes attached in pairs. The project would also create a parcel for a 0.6 acre privately maintained pocket park and a 7.2 acre water detention basin, which would also serve as the project's agricultural buffer between the proposed residences and the agricultural activities in the county. This slide here shows a comparison between the existing general plan designation, which is urban reserve and agricultural buffer. Under the project would redesignate the project site from urban reserve to residential medium density. This slide shows the zoning. Because the project's located outside city limits, there's no current zoning, but once it's annexed into the city, it would be zoned residential medium density and public facilities with an agricultural buffer overlay. As part of staff's review for the project, we evaluate each entitlement request to make sure it complies with the city's general plan goals and policies and the municipal code. For the general plan amendment, the project would designate the site as residential medium density, which allows for development between 8.1 to 14 units per acre, which the project would comply with. The project's also proposing to amend some general plan policies related to development east of Carroll Way within that east of Leisure Town growth area, and also for policies that are related to lot sizes near the agricultural buffer. The project's also proposing to annex into the city, and staff has evaluated the project and has determined that existing city services can be extended to serve the project. And so if the project were approved by the city council tonight, the applicant would need to the city would need to file an application to the Solano Local Agency Formation Commission in order to annex the project into the city. But before that can happen, the city also needs to finalize a tax sharing agreement and also the municipal services review update prior to that annexation being completed. The project would also be zoned, as previously mentioned, residential medium density and public facilities with an agricultural buffers. And then also the existing development standards that exist for those zoning districts would also apply to that site. The project includes a tentative subdivision map, which would become effective once the project is annexed into the city limits, and this would create the lots so that way any future home builder can build those single-family homes and duets. And then also the future HOA would be required as part of the development agreement and the conditions of approval to maintain the pocket park for this project. And so based on staff's evaluation of the project does comply with the city's general plan policies and goals and does meet the required findings for approval. The project does contain a development agreement which outlines specific obligations of the city and also the developer, which would need to be fulfilled over the course of the project. On the city side, the project would have a valid approval for 15 years. And also the city does have certain timelines for when an application for annexation of the project site would need to be submitted to Solano LAFCO, contingent on the city completing the MSR update and also the tax sharing agreement. On the developer side, the applicant would be required to annex into a community facilities district using the city's adopted methodology for determining a project's fiscal impact. It would also need to annex into a lighting, landscaping, and maintenance district to ensure that the proposed agricultural buffer and other community amenities in the project site can be maintained. The applicant's also required under general plan policies to preserve and or create 1 acre of agricultural land for each acre of agricultural land being developed by the project. And then, of course, the applicant's also required to fully construct and improve the agricultural buffer site, which includes the detention basin and also some multi-use trails. The development agreement also talks about the pocket park, specifically the ownership and maintenance of that parcel. Under the general plan, all city-owned neighborhood parks must be at least 6 acres. And so the development agreement affirms that the pocket park will be privately owned and maintained by a homeowners association. And then the applicant will need to pay park development impact fees to offset the need for a neighborhood park generated by this project. The proposed pocket park is ineligible for fee credits because it does not meet that general plan standard of 6 acres. And so in September, the applicant did confirm that they do agree with the development agreement as written and brought to the city. Under state law, the city is required to evaluate all projects for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act in order to disclose the environmental impacts that could be potentially brought by the project, identify project alternatives, and also measures that can be used to avoid or mitigate any environmental impacts. So the city prepared a supplemental environmental impact report, which built on the analysis done for the farm at Alamo Creek. And that report revealed that there could be potential significant impacts to traffic and transportation, specifically related to vehicle miles traveled, and that there were no feasible mitigation measures to avoid this impact. This draft of the Supplemental Environmental Impact Report was published for review for 45 days earlier this year, and the final SEIR does address those public comments that we received during that public review period. And because there is a significant and unavoidable impact, the City Council, if they decide to approve the project and adopt this this report, they would be making a finding overriding considerations that despite the fact that the project will generate a significant unavoidable impact to vehicle miles traveled, the project does provide more diverse housing, including missing middle housing to the area. It does extend the agricultural buffer between the city and the county, and does incorporate other sustainable design features, including all-electric homes, which could be used to override the fact that the project would generate a significant and unavoidable VMT impact. The project was also reviewed by the Solano Airport Land Use Commission for compatibility with the Travis Air Force Base Land Use Compatibility Plan, and the ALUC determined the project consistent in November of 2024 with 2 conditions of approval, specifically that the detention basin must follow FAA design considerations, and that a notice regarding airport operational impacts be attached to any future deeds. On August 19, 2025, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the project. During that meeting, the Commission did discuss a few topics, including the history of the Urban Reserve Land Use designation, during which staff explained that that designation was applied by the City Council with the adoption of the General Plan in 2015 to provide flexibility for future land use planning efforts in this east of Leisure-Town area. The Commission also had questions about public outreach. Staff responded stating that all public outreach for this project did comply with the city's public outreach strategy for land use planning and also with CEQA. And then the Planning Commission did have a question about the project's proximity to parks, in which staff responded that the project would be approximately 3 blocks away from the future community park to be built as part of the farm at Alamo Creek project. Speaking of public outreach, the project did have some substantial public outreach. In March of 2023, the city released a notice of preparation, basically informing the public that the city is embarking on the preparation of a supplemental environmental impact report. In April 2023, we also held a virtual scoping meeting to find out what members of the public believe should be addressed as part of the environmental impact report. In July of 2023, due to changes in the project, we did issue a revised notice of preparation. In February 2024, we released a notice of availability, letting members of the public know that the draft supplemental environmental impact report was available for review and comment. In July 2025, we mailed a notice informing residents that the Planning Commission would be considering the project, and then in October of this year, a similar notice was mailed in advance of this hearing. And so to conclude, staff supports the project because it would increase the variety of housing types available within the Farm at Alamo Creek specific plan. It would, most environmental impacts can be mitigated to less than significant, except for that VMT significant impact, which can be overrated due to other overriding considerations. Additionally, the project can be served by future improvements done as part of the Farm at Alamo Creek. And so the project does meet the required findings for approval. It's consistent with the city's general plan, zoning, and also state law, and complies with the city's development standards. And so staff recommends that tonight the City Council, by simple motion, adopt the subject resolutions and introduce the subject ordinance. And so that concludes staff's presentation. We also have the applicant and also a member of DUDEC, who is the consultant for the environmental impact report, here to answer any questions. Thank you.
And thank you for the presentation. Any questions from the council? Vice Mayor Chapman.
Thank you. I have a question in regards to the CEQA or the or CIR. EIR, not CIR, EIR, Environmental Impact Report. I recall reading one of the reports back in 2023, and what caught my eye in the report was something regarding, I don't remember the exact verbiage, there was something in there regarding its impact on Alamo Creek, the creek itself. And when I inquired, I was told that there would be it would not impact Alamo Creek. And when I speak of the creek, I'm actually talking about the creek. Then your report, you just mentioned the detention basin, to be placed in the area. Okay, is that because of the possibility of it impacting Alamo Creek, that that the basin, detention basin is being considered for this project?
The project will not impact Alamo Creek. The detention basin is needed because each project that proposes to build has to satisfy how they're going to handle the runoff of rain from the project before it enters into the city's storm drain system or to the city's creek system. The detention basin collects the water, pre-treats it before it goes into the city's creeks and storm drain system.
Okay, all right.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Thank you so much. Just want to appreciate all the work the staff put into this. Also, just the conversations I've had with the developers and Tom Phillippe. It's if you look at this project quickly, it's just one piece of a puzzle. It looks like it's out there in the middle of nowhere. It's an oddball. But when you look at the macro of what we can do at East Leisure Town together, it's going to be great. I really appreciate the opportunity for, like, they heard what we said over many, many months of wanting to make sure we have diverse housing. And when I read the duets, the 85 possibilities, that was really good. It gives opportunity for us to have split lots and build at scale missing middle affordable housing that would be in the community, in a new community, in a proximity to just not feeling like it's just, I was glad to see the size of lots and the duets. They've heard what we want, and they're answering the call. I'm just looking forward to having an opportunity for people to have a great opportunity to serve and buy homes in Vacaville.
Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you for the information. I just have a couple of questions. So we're talking about annexing 33 acres into Vacaville, and the fields are next to the farm, but this is mostly dealing with the fields. But the farm is not built yet, is it?
No, it has not been.
So who's 600 feet close by that got the notices? Was there anybody that got notices?
Yes, the property owners that were surrounding this larger development. That is part of the struggle that ends up happening, but that's part of the reason why we also publish within the newspaper for different periods. The EIR, Notice of Availability for that project, was also posted at the newspaper, and it's also posted on our city website too.
So are there just like a few big owners nearby? I mean, there's not a lot of little owners, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that was my one question. And the second, we talk about single-family homes, and are they going to be single-family homes for sale, not for rent? We're doing a sale thing?
The applicant has indicated they would be for sale.
Okay. And then it talked about the HOA, and usually when houses are for sale in a neighborhood, there's not an HOA. So is the HOA just to pay for the pocket park?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then it also talked about a pool and stuff, and so the pool is in the farm, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I had a question about that, but I guess that's not pertained to this because it was just information in there.
Correct.
All right, and so then on the slide that you showed, I thought you said that the applicant was in agreement with the development agreement stipulations, but I thought in our staff report, it said that the applicant disagreed with the amount of the CFD. So is there agreement or is there not agreement?
Last communication that we received from the applicant was an agreement. Before we attended the Planning Commission meeting, we had agreement with the applicant. At the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant surprised staff and communicated a variety of disagreements. Since that time, we've recollected with the applicant. We have, again, writing that the applicant is in agreement with the development agreement.
To pay a CFD, but not necessarily a specific CFD?
Correct.
But the paper says the CFD according to our methodology. So the applicant is in agreement with paying the CFD in accordance with our methodology?
Correct.
Unless that agreement changes again. So right now, it's agreed. Okay, thank you. And then the park size. So we have agreed that the applicant, if he builds a pocket park, the HOA will pay for that, but it won't count toward the park. So is there still a plan to include a regular park here, or is the community park going to be like in the farm or something?
The community park and the farm would serve these residents, and that would count as a park that needs to be provided. The development would pay for development impact fees that would go to the city, and the city can use that for the development of that park.
All right. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Chapman, I think you had another question.
Yes, quickly, duets. What are duets?
Duets, I believe, I don't have the definition right in front of me, but duets would be single-family homes on individual lots that are directly connected with a shared property line. So as a duplex, you might have 2 units on a lot. It'd be 2 units, and they share the same property line, but it's on a wall. So you're able to fit more housing within a small area. So they're going to be single-family for-sale units. They'll be connected on one wall, but there's going to be a property line on that one wall.
They share a wall.
Correct.
So whereas duplexes are 2 properties on one parcel, duets are on individual parcels, but they still share that wall. So they're individual parcels, but they share a wall.
They share a wall.
Yeah.
Okay. This is brand new to me about duets, sharing a wall. How would they sell that? There'd still be sold as 2 separate units?
Correct, yeah. And we also have the applicant here that could share their vision about how they incorporated those duets into the development.
Can I have them speak?
Yeah, I'll bring the applicant up here in a minute. There's a few other questions, but I would say think of duplexes, fourplexes. So the density, we have duets in the city of Vacaville. It's just maybe something that isn't as popular, but when we're trying to get to density housing. Councilmember Stockton?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question about the detention basins. I know we have some of those sprinkled throughout the city. There are some in my district as well. Are those publicly accessible, and is there a way that those open areas during the non-wet parts of the year could be utilized for soccer fields or other things like that?
This one is going to be accessible. That was one of the designs that we wanted to make sure that, so this particular design will have a walking path and maintenance road that will go around it with complementary landscaping. That was one of the conversations that we worked with our Parks and Recreation colleagues on it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to come up with a design that would be able to utilize for that off-season use.
Is that something that can be utilized in other projects when they implement water basins?
That is something that we actively consider as part of new basins and new projects.
Okay, and is there a reason why it wasn't applicable on this project?
I would defer to the applicant.
Why don't the applicant come forward and maybe answer some questions and make a statement? Thanks, Chris Robles.
Thank you, Mayor Carley, council members. I'm Chris Robles on behalf of G&W Properties, or G&W Holdings, the property owner. Thank you for your time this evening, and Noah for the presentation tonight. The project really was anticipated with the farm in Alamo Creek, which was approved in 2018. And the farm, actually, the tentative map included a concept plan for this area, a residential component that was identified. Staff requested that we increase the density on the project. We did that, targeting the missing middle. That was a component that we wanted, that the city identified. We responded with that. We believe that this project will provide the opportunity for missing middle housing and at an attainable price point. So, clarify, we are in agreement with the development agreement and the conditions of approval as presented to you this evening. The project, we initially submitted our merit hearing to the city in 2019, and I think, Councilmember Wiley, you were the only one on the council at the time when that went forward. So it has been a fairly lengthy process to get here. We very much appreciate the work that Noah Ramboa has done on this to get us here tonight, and I think we were very proud of the project that's before you. I did hear some questions, and I'll try to answer those. The question on the half-plexes, basically, it is a duplex with a property line down the middle. You do have a product of this type existing in the city, Portofino, that's been, I believe it was built in 2016, 2011 timeframe, and it has done very well, and we've patterned it after that. There was also a component within the farm that also provides the similar property type. So it does share a common wall and a common property line with it. So it's basically a duplex with a property line through it. The HOA will provide for the park maintenance. The concern that we had with it is we have a CFD with an unknown number, and the consideration that we asked for at the Planning Commission was to try to land that number so we knew what the assessment would be for our financing purposes and how we move forward. The development agreement provides for it. The methodology is defined by the city. The city is going through that process right now to identify that. So you do not currently have a policy or methodology on how to determine CFDs for assessments. Typically, those have been associated with public safety, police, and fire. So we're good with that. We initially submitted the application with a project participating in CFD 8, which is the same as what you have in North Village. We thought that was appropriate. We provided a fiscal analysis. There's been some back and forth with the city. That item still remains undetermined, but we will accept the language, the future methodology, and we are participating in that discussion with the city on that. The detention basin, unfortunately, the detention basin is not of the size that would accommodate a park, but this basin will likely only be wet a few days out of the year. So there are opportunities for other recreational opportunities. We do plan to have bike trails, walking trails around the facility. The size of it is still yet to be determined. That'll be determined on the storm drainage needs, but that's also reliant on what's happening with the farm next door. So we have a couple of moving parts that we're trying to work with on that. I think that was the questions, if I missed
So
any.
why don't you pause there, stay there in case there's more questions. Councilmember Freemel?
Yeah, just going back to what Councilmember Stockton was talking about. So I think that it was 7.76 acres for the retention pond. Is that correct?
Yes.
And, I like the idea of being able to have multi-use of that for potential, even if it's not big enough, to be able to have. But then who maintains it? Who's going to maintain that retention basin? Is that part of the HOA?
The detention basin would be maintained through a CFD. So there's a CFD for the landscaping along Hawkins Road and for the basin. Keep in mind, this 7 acres is an agricultural buffer. So there's limited human activity that's really identified for that area. So it is designed as a separation and buffer to preserve the rights of farming on the other side of it, and to try to minimize any conflicts that may occur between the development and the farming activity. So we looked at some other options, a community garden, some more active places, and those had limitations. I believe the farm actually considered a community garden, and that was opposed by some of I believe the county with their consideration for protecting farming.
Okay. And then my other question was, I believe that I saw some of the size of the lots were, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 35 feet wide by 60-foot depth with a 5-foot setback from the sidewalk to the garage door. And now are these duet single car? Will there be single car, and then the others, will they fit 2 cars in the garage? Because I noticed that there's room for 1 car for every 2 houses in the parking out front, and it just seems a little bit limiting.
Yep. So the 30-foot lot width is the half-plex units. So, and those could have a tandem garage where it's one space behind the other. The Portofino project does have 2-car garages, so that's a component as well. The actual product type has not been designed yet. There are provisions within the specific plan that identify what the setbacks are and the orientation. And I believe they're deeper than 60 feet. I think we've got a bit more depth to them. So again, it could accommodate a 2-car garage. I suspect we'll probably have a combination of 2 and 1. 2-car garage, 2 side-by-side garages takes up a lot of the visual. And so to try to minimize that with a single car would be, I think, something we'd look to do.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and open up to the public for comment unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
That's it. Thanks for your consideration tonight and request your favorable consideration. Thanks.
All right, this will now be open up to the public. Anyone to comment?
Council, Mayor, this sounds, the thing is about these kind of projects, it just seems like urban sprawl to me to put something out so far out in farmland, annexing more farmland. You're talking Hawkins Road. They used to grow sugar beets, corn, everything out there. We're getting to the point where it should have been Leisure Town Road was cut off. Now the city's going out right to the power lines and further out. So to me, it's like you're building something in the middle of nowhere, and the detention basin's never going to be big enough to have any kind of parks kind of issues with that. And so, I mean, building within the limits, inside city limits is okay, I guess, but we keep annexing more and more land. And developers seem to dictate what kind of city we're going to have all the time. It's kind of like out at Lagoon Valley when they started that project. They were supposed to build the golf course first, is what I heard. But that, you haven't seen the golf course yet. That's not true? But that was the original plan, was the golf course, then they build the houses. But, I just would like to see more infill versus going out further and further. That's just my opinion, but, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Seeing no one else, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the council. Councilmember Ritchie.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much, and I know that this is the beginning of the process. There's still a lot more to do, but appreciate it. And I am aware that it's attached to between the fields and the farm, so there's a lot of information that maybe the public isn't fully aware of, but I encourage those who may not be. You can go to our staff reports, to our websites on our projects. I think this particular item tonight is about 250 pages within also the presentation. So there's a lot of details behind this. So appreciate it. Thank you, staff. And we will move on. I think those are only 2 public hearings. Madam City Clerk, I think we're moving on to item 12.
Item 12A is a presentation of the Vacaville Museum Foundation's fiscal year 2024-25 annual report. And Public Works Director Brian McLean will start the presentation.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. My name is Claire Dawson. I'm the Executive Director of the Vacaville Museum. I also have my Board of Trustees President, Wanda Cook, with me here tonight. I believe all of you had access to the annual report that I provided. Council had access to that? Okay, wonderful. So I started at the museum in August of 2024, and I have spent the last year getting to know and love this community through our organization's exhibits, events, and programs. If I had to pick one word to describe the year we've had at the museum, it would be new. So we've welcomed 2 new wonderful staff members this year, our curator, Shelby Sorensen, and Whit Germano, our office manager. We have 3 full-time staff at the museum, myself, and these 2 positions. We adopted a new mission that better reflects what we do. We've developed new relationships with community partners, organizations, and the public. We've launched 4 new programs and welcomed new faces through our doors. We've used new frameworks to interpret the arts, history, and culture of Vacaville and Solano County through 4 exhibits. The museum really seeks to use the tool of the past to imagine something new. So we've updated our mission to reflect this intention. So our new mission is to explore history, connect community, and cultivate a future inspired by arts and culture. And we do this through innovative exhibits, novel events, and exciting programs. Our current exhibit, The Art of Death, investigates death through the lenses of science, history, art, and culture. And it has been one of our highest attended exhibits in recent years. It welcomes all age demographics and cultural backgrounds to engage in a universal experience that really affects all of us. We also hosted Solano Quilts, a Pattern of Change, which celebrates the rich textile history and traditions, both historically and currently in Solano County. I want to iterate that community voices are strong in both of the exhibits, with dozens of collaboration points between the museum and the community. We've also launched 4 programs this year: Music at the Museum, block parties, artist showcases, and book club. We've hosted 11 unique events, such as our beloved Children's Party, Solano County Scavenger Hunt, and Be a Curator Day. We've welcomed school classes, adult daycare participants, and after-school programs for tours and educational field trips. Over the last fiscal year, the museum served just shy of 5,000 visitors and participants across all of our offerings. General admission to the museum remains as it always has, which is free. This means that our revenue is a mix of individual contributions, sponsorships, memberships, program fees, grants, event rentals, retail, and of course, city support. This last fiscal year, the museum's total revenue, which includes contributed income, earned income, and city support, totaled $238,133. This upcoming fiscal year, we have an ambitious plan to increase revenue by 35% so that we can continue to grow alongside our community as a resource for education, relaxation, reflection, expression, economic development, tourism, research, and discovery. I have been asked to keep this presentation very short by my friends in Public Works, so I will stop there, but I would love to answer the council's questions or comments that you all may have.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and also introducing, if you have not met everyone. It's great to have you here, and between you and the new staff, and I just want to commend what you're doing. My role as mayor, I sit as ex officio on the board. So while I'm not a voting member, I do get to be the linkage between the city and also the board and you and your staff. And so very pleased, especially knowing that there is a great partnership in what the arts bring. And certainly this last year has been, I think, phenomenal. And I said it today at the board meeting, I do appreciate the level of detail, but the excitement of what is new, because when we're trying to draw people to the experience, you're part of, I see it, you're part of the community, even though you're also part of the Solano Museum program, that people may not understand that. But you really are a fabric of Vacaville, and so sometimes people only see it at on main events, like, this is great, everyone knows where to go get the onion soup. But it's a tremendous asset, and I just want to say thank you. So, Vice Mayor Chapman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your report. I've had an opportunity to visit or see the current exhibit at the museum, and I would encourage all of you to go and check it out. I didn't know what to expect when I went in.
There's only 15 days left, right?
Yes, 15 days left
Way to
open to
go.
the
You need to do
public.
it soon.
We close on November 15th, so
Okay,
days open to the public are 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so you've got 15 more days to check it out.
okay, well, you just share with the public the days that you're open and the remaining days for this exhibit. And then a side note, if I may, I'm going to do it anyway. Your mother, her mother is a council member in...
She's the mayor.
Oh, she's the mayor now. Oh, okay. Well, we had our League of Cities conference in Long Beach, and during the women's gathering, caucus, when it got around to me to introduce myself, I said, oh, I have to inquire. And I said, is the mother of Carla Dawson, right?
Claire Dawson.
Yes, Claire. In attendance, and she was not. She was not.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but I
You
have,
just
I
timed
have.
her out. You just did that?
I did. Didn't I, Councilmember Wiley? I sure did, because you told me the next time I'm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
She runs in your circles, so I'm sure you'll have interactions with her at some point in time, but
Okay, well, I didn't get to meet your mother, but thank you for the report. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Councilmember Wiley?
Thank you very much for the information, and it's a great resource that we have in Vacaville for all of Solano County, and I have taken my school classes there in the past, but I just want to share what I heard today. We had a luncheon of about 40 retired teachers, and the retired teachers had just taken a field trip to see the display, and I mean, they were saying, oh, it was the greatest thing ever. So they were very enthusiastic, and the teachers who didn't go, I'm sure will be able to go based on their recommendations. But I just want to say it was very favorable, and you really do a nice job and the board and everyone. So it's a great resource. And I have visited there and will be there. I guess there's an event on Saturday as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I am going to open up to the public now if anyone wants to make a comment. But again, we just greatly appreciate our partnership. So if any member of the public or if somebody else from staff, especially the No? Okay, you're good. All right. We're going to bring it back to the council. The action item on this is just receive the report. Again, thank you, and encourage anyone and everyone to go visit it, but also support it. So thank you. All right, so item 12B.
This is a presentation of a homeless action plan by Housing and Community Services Director Tamara Colden.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Tonight, I am presenting on a homeless action plan and hoping to receive comment and feedback and direction on next steps on both phases of the plan. A little bit of background. So on February 23rd, 2021, the council adopted the city's strategic plan for fiscal year 21 through 26. Under Goal 3, Protect Vacaville's Quality of Life, Initiative 3A called for the city to promote housing for all. That includes developing a comprehensive action plan in partnership with regional and community stakeholders. More recently, on September 9th this year, during a discussion on reusing the Greyhound Station as a warming shelter, council directed staff to bring forward a more comprehensive approach to homelessness. And the plan that I'm going to be presenting on tonight is a direct response to that request, going beyond the seasonal shelter to lay out a broader strategy for housing prevention services and partnerships. To develop this plan, staff engaged in targeted outreach with key stakeholders due to the condensed timeline in turning around and bringing this plan back. So staff met with representatives from the police department and community response unit or crew, as well as other representatives from organizations and community members to receive feedback on the plan. The information gathered through that outreach, combined with council's direction, has helped shape a two-phased approach that you'll see in this plan. Homelessness in Vacaville is both a local challenge and part of a broader regional crisis. The 2024 point-in-time count identified 194 unsheltered residents in Vacaville, and that accounts for nearly 15% of the county's total. I realize that locally we might have a little bit higher number as the methodology used during the point-in-time count has always been a bit controversial, but as far as the point-in-time count being the official number on record and used to determine grant opportunities with both federal and state funding sources, that is the measurement that we use to determine Vacaville's homeless count. So for consistency, that number in 2024 was 194 residents. Solano County overall saw an increase in homelessness by nearly 50% since 2019. The impacts are not only visible in our neighborhoods, but also felt in law enforcement, the courts, and in our healthcare systems. This plan recognizes that while Vacaville is a part of a county-wide effort, we need a local system of care that's tailored to our scale and community needs. Luckily, Vacaville is not starting from scratch in this effort, so we already have several important resources in place. Opportunity House continues to be the city's primary shelter and transitional housing provider for youth. The community response team, our crew, engages directly with unhoused residents and connects them to services, including limited motel placements, and the Greyhound Center serves as the warming shelter and has provided seasonal relief during winter months. On the supportive services side, the Family Resource Center provides like case management and referrals, while our community partners through the Homeless Roundtable continue to play a vital role with food, outreach, and basic services. Regionally, Vacaville contributes to the CAP Solano JPA and Housing for Solano Continuum of Care by supporting staffing, the coordinated entry system, and homeless management and information system. These partnerships ensure that Vacaville residents are connected into a broader network of services. Despite the progress that has been made, several critical gaps remain in Vacaville's system of care. Primarily, there is no navigation or day center, which would serve as a year-round place where people can access coordinated entry, case management, and services. For adults and families, there's not a primary transitional housing options, and that creates a bottleneck between shelter and permanent housing placements. At the city level, we have limited prevention and diversion resources that would keep families stably housed and out of the homelessness system. And we lack a structured workforce program that would connect unhoused residents to jobs and income. And finally, the city has no dedicated staffing or division that is dedicated to addressing homelessness or providing a coordinated effort to address homelessness. And that can make it difficult to sustain momentum or manage contracts and partnerships effectively. Phase 1 of the plan that is designed to happen through the end of this fiscal year focuses on achievable actions that we can execute through the end of this fiscal year. There are 8 key steps to phase 1 of this plan. First, it would be to ensure consistent city participation in the Homeless Roundtable and to continue our regional coordination and partnership through CAP Solano JPA. Second, we would focus on mapping Vacaville's local system of care so that council, staff, and the public clearly understand how people move from entry points through to housing, and make sure that that information is available to the public on the city's website. We'll also identify sustainable funding sources that can be used to fill the gaps identified in the plan. Release an RFP for a pilot transitional housing project, as well as an RFP for a partner to provide a permanent warming and cooling center location. The plan also looks at working with the Housing Authority to move towards establishing a move on or move up program so that transitional housing flows into permanent housing through the use of vouchers. And finally, we'll look at applying for funding for the possible relaunch of the Clean Streets Workforce Program, which would not only provide job opportunities for unhoused people, but also make visible improvements to our community. Phase 2 of the plan, which would start in the next fiscal year, would build on the foundations established in Phase 1 with a continued 3-year strategy. The goal would be to move from short-term responses to a sustainable, right-sized system of care for Vacaville. The strategy is organized into 6 pillars, with Pillar A focusing on governance and data, focusing on a dedicated city staffing. Pillar B focuses on exploring the feasibility and necessity of expanding services from a permanent warming and cooling site to potentially developing a permanent navigation or day center. Pillar C would expand the pilot transitional housing program and from 2 to 4 units to something a little bit larger or something with more units. And Pillar D would strengthen prevention and diversion programs at the city level. Pillar E would leverage city-owned sites and incentives to develop more affordable permanent housing units. And Pillar F would hopefully focus on expanding the Clean Streets program, if relaunched, into a clean and safe ambassadors model that would improve livability while helping participants transition to jobs and housing. So with Pillar A right now, homelessness work in Vacaville is largely handled by a variety of departments and a variety of staff. The idea under this pillar would be to formalize the oversight of the activities and work done for addressing homelessness by exploring adding permanent staff positions. And these positions would manage contracts, track outcomes, and serve as a bridge between the Housing Authority, nonprofits, community partners, permanent housing developers, and the crew team to make sure that there is one location or one point of contact in the city that anyone could contact with any issues regarding homelessness. That position could also monitor contracts and would be responsible for providing annual updates to council on the status of the programs, as well as serve in a regional capacity to participate in regional activities happening throughout the county and bringing those activities back to the city, or bringing that information back to the city. Pillar B would look at how the city would move forward filling one of the most critical gaps, which is the absence of a navigation or day center in Vacaville. In Phase 1, the city would identify a permanent site for a warming or cooling, to serve as a warming or cooling center during extreme weather. In Phase 2, the city would explore the feasibility and whether it's necessary to expand services at that facility, or whether it's necessary to establish a navigation center here in Vacaville, or whether there's other strategies that could be used to fill that gap. This would create stability for residents experiencing homelessness and would provide service providers with a central hub to coordinate support. Pillar C focuses on transitional housing. In Phase 1, we are proposing piloting 2 to 4 units of transitional housing with supportive services. In Phase 2, we would explore expanding the capacity based on the results of that 2 to 4 unit pilot project. Transitional housing is the missing middle that gives people a safe place to stabilize, access services, and prepare to move on to permanent housing. Through a potential move-on or move-up partnership with the Housing Authority, residents exiting transitional housing units would have a clear path to permanent housing with vouchers. And this would ensure that there is turnover and flow through the transitional housing system. Pillar D would focus on strengthening our ability to keep people housed in the first place. So prevention and diversion are cost-effective ways to keep people housed and prevent homelessness rather than attempting to resolve it later. This could look like working with the Family Resource Center to expand its roles as a prevention hub, improve protocols for referrals, and possibly providing a pilot light touch rental or utility assistance program to fill in local gaps. Over time, this could reduce inflow into the homeless system and keep more Vacaville families stably housed. This would take, again, city staff, additional city staff, in order to be dedicated to these services, as well as resources. Pillar E would focus on expanding the supply of permanent affordable housing units, which is the ultimate solution to homelessness. During phase 2, the city would look at leveraging city-owned sites through RFPs, explore the potential of using motel conversions, and strengthen incentives such as an inclusionary housing program or below market rate program to provide funding for those permanent units. This ensures that as Vacaville grows, we're creating pathways for people exiting out of homelessness and building long-term affordability into our housing stock. And finally, Pillar F would focus on connecting the homeless strategy with community livability. If relaunched during phase 1, phase 2 would explore the possibility of expanding the Clean Streets program into a more robust, clean, and safe ambassadors model, employing unhoused residents in cleanup, wayfinding, and resident engagement roles. This creates visible community improvements while also giving participants income, training, and work experience. And over time, can become a pathway to permanent employment and housing stability while strengthening vibrancy and community pride. The financial framework proposed in the plan builds upon what's already been committed. In phase 1, Vacaville already contributes approximately $150,000 annually to the Capilano JPA for countywide coordination. And council has dedicated approximately $1.5 million of ARPA funding for homelessness. We also maintain ongoing contracts between Opportunity House and Crew for outreach and case management services. And the city has leveraged $450,000 in one-time community development block grant CV funding for homelessness outreach targeted for those experiencing mental health or substance abuse challenges, as well as providing emergency grants for rent and utilities that was allocated through the Family Resource Center. Phase 1 actions are relatively low cost using these existing resources or targeted grants. But phase 2 would require new funding and resources to be identified to expand upon the activities that would be launched during phase 1. This could look like pursuing state and federal grants, leveraging new opioid settlement dollars, and developing partnerships with nonprofits and the business community. So sustainability would be key to ensuring that the investments in phase 1 have a lasting impact throughout phase 2. The plan also talks about evaluation and accountability of the results and are central to this plan. Each pillar includes specific outcomes and metrics, from numbers of clients served to housing exits to business satisfaction results. It would be that these results would be reported annually to council, and the public would be kept abreast of the progress, both annually through reports to council and on the city's website. Participation in the regional HMIS system ensures that we can track referrals, housing placements, and service outcomes with real data. And then finally, we'll maintain ongoing feedback loops with providers, community organizations, faith-based partners, and the Homeless Roundtable, so that the plan continues to reflect the community's needs. And this approach ensures transparency, measurable progress, and the ability to adapt as conditions change. So this plan represents a clear path forward in phase one, which focuses on immediate achievable steps that we can implement in this fiscal year. It focuses on strengthening coordination, piloting a transitional housing program, launching a move-on program through the Housing Authority, and exploring relaunching the Clean Streets program. And phase two expands that foundation into a sustainable system of care through the 6 pillars that I went through earlier in this presentation. The goal is a compassionate, coordinated, and an effective approach that not only reduces homelessness, but also improves community livability. With this plan, hopefully Vacaville is positioned to maximize the impact of local investments, strengthen regional partnerships, and creates a real pathways to stability and dignity for our residents. So with that, I'm hoping to receive feedback from council or the public on both phases of the Homeless Action Plan, and hope to receive direction to move forward with phase one of the plan, as well as phase two of the plan in the upcoming fiscal years.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And this will be, I think, a time initially for the council. It really isn't about questions before we would normally bring it back, but this is, you're looking for some direction. I'm grateful that we're finally doing this. Certainly there's 2 phases to this. Appreciate all the support in the community to finally get to where we're at. Years and years and years ago, we had the roundtable, but what we didn't have is this, right or wrong, we didn't have a council where direction was being given, and that is now changed. So tonight it is about giving direction, and also as we step into our strategic plan for next year, how we could actually look at what is best practice, look at what we want for Vacaville. Mindful that every ask, there's a dollar sign behind it. So I think, at least for me, I will start and simply say that phase one, absolutely, it's long overdue that we actually do that. We need the roundtable. We need our partners to be together. We need to have a common voice. Just some high-level thoughts, though, as we're working with the county, and I know Councilmember Stockton will probably be able to speak more to it, and staff may as well. But our connection with the JPA and funding staff, I want to make sure that what we don't do is create siloed systems that aren't integrated. So anything that we do, if the JPA is the resource, I want to make sure we don't duplicate efforts that need to, everything that I have worked on for years involving the homeless challenges in Vacaville was it's no single problem for one entity or one government. It takes everyone. But the JPA approach needs to be layered into whatever this looks like. And so when I see phase two and the pillars, I simply then also say, I don't think you're going to get all the answers tonight. You're probably going to get comments. My concern is that phase one implementation is long overdue. And as we lean into what a phase two looks like, a lot of it needs to be analyze and assess whether or not we need to do that or are there alternatives. So I hear that in your comments tonight, and so thank you. But in some of those areas, I'll be very, I will start with saying, is this the best use of city funds? Is there county funds or are there JPA funds that will do this, such as the HMIS system? We don't need to have a standalone system. I believe that working, Crew in the past, I don't know if they're doing it today, but instead of hiring an FTE, contracted services out. And so I know in phase one, I see RFPs. Anything that can be done by the Opportunity House or at a county level where our dollars can leverage with other systems, or we can not just hire another government employee to manage a contract or connect resources. I believe years ago we paid a 0.5 FTE staff out of the Opportunity House to help navigate the homeless challenges with individuals so that it wasn't our staff. And so I want to make sure that we're creative in what we do. When we talk about Phase 2 Navigation Center, I heard what you said. We need to assess whether or not we need to do that. Same with transitional housing. I like the idea you start small. We've seen it with the Opportunity House. Transitional housing is interesting because we have a prime example of a model that works that doesn't get true federal funding except for my friend's house. The Opportunity House doesn't because of Housing First. So it would be nice somehow if, when we talk about policy platforms, could you cut Vacaville some slack? We actually have a great model. And because of that, I want to be careful that we don't stand up systems that wouldn't complement. They would be competing for something when what we're trying to do is say, can you do this? And are there funds available and work in public-private partnerships? Opportunity House has done an amazing job here in our community and has been recognized nationally. Sometimes I'm skeptical of motel conversions, and the reason is because my final point on this for right now, there's other comments here, is if we're at 194 homeless in Vacaville based upon HUD's description of Pitt, I've always been skeptical of that. You said it right. It's their formula for funding. And that's very different than when you know every single one of them by name. And Gail, I know you know them all by name. And if our numbers are 194, and they were, we'll call it, before the pandemic, they were under 100. Where did they come from? I think we have the resources to know separately what the impact is versus what federal dollars will get us. And I don't want to chase the wrong number when it comes to the right solution. So do we need a full-time navigation center? Maybe, maybe not. Is it outsourced? I'd like to see anything we can to outsource with people who are the experts. And then I would also like to understand better, because Vacaville was recognized, and somebody commented, our crew made national presentations on this. Our roundtable was visited by countless nonprofits and public sector and police agencies. And I know Skip and Gail went to, I think, every single one of them. One of you did. But the programs that were started here were creative, and it's unfortunate that they almost have to be restarted, because to get to the real numbers, what would it look like? If it's under 100, my experience is you're never going to get more than 10% at any given time to enter into the system, transition through the system, get the help. So the cycle is the right size what we need here. And so those are my thoughts. I'm sure there'll be a lot more thoughts up here. Again, Phase 2 is a much broader picture with details that would have to come back, but at least just some safeguards on how I feel about them. And but I appreciate you putting this together, and I think that's enough information for me. Vice Mayor Chapman.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm definitely in support of Phase 1, getting it started, long overdue. Here in Solano County, several of the cities have taken it upon themselves to address their homeless issue internal. They have their own navigation, they just have wonderful programs that they have begun to assist, and I'm happy that Vacaville is looking to do something similar. I want to share that I attended along with, I think it was the assistant city manager, and I don't know who else might have been in attendance at the presentation, the workshop that was done at our conference this week on homelessness. The city, the community that presented, has an outstanding program, and they gave us data on how their homelessness numbers have decreased and the timeline. I'm going to find the information and share it with you, because I think there are some things that they're doing that would really benefit us to consider. One thing is on the transforming hotels, motels, to become a housing facility. That was looked at by them. However, they use subsidized housing through housing. They brought property owners together to meet, to ask them if they would consider helping with this homeless project. And those that consented, those individuals that were unsheltered and they just needed to get into a home, they were able to get that assistance immediately. I mean, excellent project. So I would like, I don't know how much of the information I brought back. Do you have the city and everything? So our Assistant City Manager, Georgianne, forgive me. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Anyway, together we're going to get that information to you, okay? But I am so thankful that you were able to bring this forward. I understand exactly what the mayor is saying about not wanting to duplicate areas where we can get those services or get the assistance from the JPA or whatever. But it's time for us to look into helping the people here in Vacaville to get housed, to get the help they need. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Silva.
Question and comments?
Yeah, yes.
All right, so thank you, Tamara, for all the work putting together. You know, I've observed you to be very attentive and observant to a lot of different feedback, not just from the community, but us folks up here from this dais and our shenanigans at times. So again, I think it was a really well put together, straightforward document. The way I kind of look at this and how I like to provide my feedback is, there's phase one that we want to move forward more immediately. In phase two, the way I'm looking at phase two is more of a placeholder, kind of a guide of where we're going to go forward. I think it's, so I appreciate kind of breaking it up in those two phases, maybe, rally just maybe multiple. So I think that the more that we focus on, the more attainable and more accessible needs in itself makes sense. So I would suggest and recommend that we come back, we see how the first phase, if it's something that we pursue, rolls out and how it's impactful, positive or negative, to make more informed decisions as we move forward. So that's kind of my frame there. When I'm reading this, I don't see anything about locations. And so just my experience, that's also my particular concern of, I know there's a conflict, within, hey, there's state, hey, we need to help address this. There's penalties if you don't, but you also don't want to concentrate poverty. But then there's not enough sufficient funding or political will or societal acceptance of people that fit the different demographics or the perception of those who are unsheltered. So that creates significant challenges in how we find a way to move forward. So I think as far as like all the different items that are listed under phase one are, participating in the homeless roundtable. Yeah, I mean, we should be engaged in different community aspects. Continuing the collaboration on the JPA, yes. System mapping, I appreciate that. So it's something I think I was kept referring to as a blueprint. I think it's completely acceptable within a local jurisdiction to create a pathway or a map, if using this term, a map of how any individual can go from a willingness to help improve their lives where they have nothing, of what are the different steps for them to be able to be completely independent, to possibly be a homeowner, to be a business owner, to support a business or something to that effect. And so I think that in itself is extremely key. I know things don't necessarily always go as planned, but having that guideline in itself, I think, can be extremely powerful, because I think that's one area that we've lost sight on not just sometimes how I feel in the city, but also throughout the nation, where we tend to focus more on our own well-being, the more of where we end up. And we've kind of lost sight of the people don't feel like that they have that leadership that represents them. So a lot of folks have lost hope as they try to navigate the different complexities of life, and they feel like they're just working just to survive. They're not working to build up wealth or improve in any situation. So that system map, I see that being a potential value, not just for those who are unsheltered, but for anybody in the United States, anybody in the city of Vacaville in California trying to improve their conditions for future generations to come. Of course, funding identification is always a challenge. I do have concerns because the majority of this is for one-time money. So one of the biggest challenges that I've observed throughout my time on Earth is that a lot of times we implement these programs, one, that money gets abused, so there's a lack of accountability on what we expect to see of those outcomes, and two, when the money dries up, whatever challenges that we're centered on helping address, all those services, all those facilities, those get left behind, and now those individuals not only lose trust in what was there to support them, but that also impacts the surrounding environment that they're in. So that kind of goes back to the issues or constant concerns that everybody's heard me echo about concentrating poverty. I think, the different conversations I've had has been about, okay, where do these sites go? We're going to put a significant amount of money into the Markham neighborhood, particularly along that Brown Street. I know that's a designated or a place of interest for different places for these services. I think that in itself creates different challenges, and what I would, one, ask the council as well as staff and the community is to truly focus on economic development. So if we're gonna, it's not saying like we don't want to house somebody who needs to be housed. We're not gonna provide service for somebody who doesn't want to provide services, but it needs to be with the interest on, if we're talking about a system map, of how do we help create these structures and places and support systems that allow folks to navigate all the way up without damaging those who have continued to invest in those communities. And so I think that in itself is something I'm extremely mindful of as we move forward. Transitional housing, I like the concept of starting small. I actually like connecting that to Clean Streets program. So in certain areas that are of blight, it'd be amazing to see how that in turn can be a community partner, and interesting to see how that can translate to some more success. It's unfortunate the first rollout of Clean Streets wasn't successful, so I'm still not quite sure. I never heard back as a city council member where those gaps were and how this would be any different. But that's something I think that has a positive potential beyond just sheltering folks. The Warming and Cooling Center, again, I have concerns there. So, I know this is just about having staff explore. I think staff has been pretty clear on what they move forward. I think, again, putting certain, like a navigation center, I have concerns about. A permanent warming and cooling center for even extended times, I have concerns about. Again, the focus is on how we help people out of poverty, and we have to help people up. And I think when you put certain areas where, when you hear other places, other residential areas, other businesses in other areas with different businesses speak very strongly against welcoming any of these type of services into their area. To me, it's just always interesting on how we're always very willing and accepting that it's okay to go in one particular area over and over and over. And so I think in that sense, I'm cautiously, I understand the need for it. Absolutely, we don't want to see people passing away on the streets from being too cold. But that'll be interesting to see how that continues to roll out. And then the Move On, Move Up program, kind of echoes, I understand, the other comments I made. So just the one question on all that based on those comments. How do we, what are the challenges? Can you just please help explain what are some of the challenges that we have with trying to address these issues without targeting areas that are already designated with a higher low-income property or higher low-income residents? How do we make sure we don't displace already limited low-income housing units for those who need homeless services, as well as balance that need of not concentrating poverty in the same areas? It's actually a two-part question.
Okay. Thank you for the question. I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. So some of the challenges in identifying locations where services can be placed are that, on one hand, you want those locations to be near where those using those services have access to things like county social services, possible food banks, health services, local hospitals. So on one hand, some of HUD's guidance when looking at funding programs is that because of the challenges that the unhoused community faces, you want any locations to be close to other services that would complement something that would come at a warming or cooling center or a navigation center, so that while you have people there utilizing those services, you can try to connect them to to address other needs that they may have. But the other piece to that is also you want to try to place permanent units or housing units in areas of opportunity that give people access to other areas of the city outside of concentrating units or residents in areas of poverty. So that's competing. Of course, as you mentioned, there's always a challenge finding permanent sustainable funding sources for some of these activities or programs. So that's one of the things that staff will focus on during phase one of this program, is not just utilizing the one-time funding that's available, but identifying what ongoing sources of funding can be used to sustain some of the supportive services, case management, housing navigation services that really help support and make those needing those services successful in obtaining and maintaining housing. There's different levels of need depending on how long someone has been experiencing homelessness. So to speak to something that Mayor and Vice Mayor mentioned about not duplicating services, this is where we would look at what type of prevention and diversion services are and supports are already offered and how we can link residents to those. So not necessarily identifying ways to necessarily provide that prevention and diversion funding, but how can we help match people to the services that are already available so that they're not then falling into homelessness and needing more intensive support or funding to get out of homelessness. There's also a challenge in finding a location for these services to be housed or be homed. There is always going to be challenges to whatever location is proposed. I think that there's two ideas that we would focus on during phase one. Staff has brought back alternatives to the Greyhound station for a potential warming and cooling center. And what staff has heard is that there may be an opportunity to partner with a community organization or a faith-based organization to actually possibly provide a permanent location for a warming or cooling center. And so the idea of the RFP would be to explore that opportunity and see if there is a community partner that would be willing to provide those services that would be outlined in the RFP at their location. So that could work to kind of offset or work as a compromise to the challenges that we've been experiencing and trying to find a more permanent location for the warming or cooling center. But that will continue to be the main challenge of where's the right location for any of these services to be homed or housed or offered. So hopefully.
Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. It's clear you put a ton of effort into it and also took into account some of the conversations council's had with you about this topic. So thank you for coming back with something that I think is very doable, right? I really like phase one. I think it makes sense. It's a great place to start, but it also recognizes that we're not always the expert on everything related to homelessness and how to move forward and prioritize those steps. So I do think that the roundtable feedback is truly necessary for us moving forward before we get to step two. For me, it's always about services. Like, I think that that's one of the things that I liked about your presentation is I recognize the need for housing. I think that the 2 to 4 units to start out with is a good number, but that those services have to be included. I've had great conversations with Skip and Gail Thompson and about the importance of that, and I know that's one of the reasons why our Opportunity House is so successful is because they're not just providing housing, they're providing life skills, work skills, and giving people opportunities to be successful once they move out of that transitional housing. So that's really important. I also had a really good conversation with the Thompsons about places for people to park their vehicles. I know we've had discussions about potentially using parking lots or the parking lot behind City Hall where folks can park overnight. It's a safe, well-lit location. Staff isn't going to be here during the evening. The police are close by. That's something that I wouldn't mind being worked into that plan because we do have a large population that are living out of their vehicles. Again, there was mention about not duplicating systems. I know that the JPA has been very vocal about the HMIS, and I recognize that a portion of that being successful revolves around having a permanent location where people can come to or be taken to get them inputted into that system so that we have a better idea of who needs help and what type of help they do need. So I don't want to get back into inclusionary zoning ordinances or housing. I think the council's discussed that at length. Again, I think you answered some of those questions very, very well, right? Initially, I think we need to be where the people have access to get into the HMIS, to have access to those initial services, warming center, navigation center. But I do agree with what you said about the transitional living being placed in areas of opportunity where people can get jobs or have access to different things that they need. I just recently toured, I've toured Opportunity House. You guys do a fantastic job. I can't speak highly enough about what you're doing over there, Ms. Banta. But I also had an opportunity to tour the Agape Estate, which is out in the unincorporated county area near District 1. And they had, I want to say it was like 8 to 10 units. It is, like you mentioned, it's a partnership between nonprofits, businesses, and grant funding. I think that, and again, it includes services, cooking classes, rides to work, just different things like that. But there is an expectation that people are taking advantage of those services, they're getting help, and they are trying to be clean and sober. You know, there are setbacks from time to time, but there is an expectation that the people there are trying to improve themselves. And so I think that really is the key. And again, I'll tie that back to the roundtable. I think having the right people at the table, working with the experts in these areas is what's going to make whatever we decide to support or do successful. I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Mayor. I think the RFPs are key, right? Giving that opportunity, putting it out there for the experts, and then, you know, having them have some reliability on the funding that we're going to offer so that they can follow through with the commitments that we make or attach to those. Let's see here. The other thing that I would like to talk about is when we're talking about some of those opportunities and partnerships with nonprofits, and businesses. There are a lot of businesses. I know I've had conversations with Recology. I've had conversations with other unions and different folks that have a genuine interest in trying to help us or partner with us in providing skills for folks that are in these situations and trying to better their lives. And so I would like to see that at least discussed with the roundtable or discussed as we move forward is how can we partner with our business community in a positive way, not just with the Clean Streets. I think that's great. I've toured that program in Yolo County. I think it's a great starting point to get people used to showing up on time. There's some community renewal, aspect to that too that I think is really positive. But I also think that we should be working with some of these groups, some of these different businesses where they can actually, hire folks that have had some issues maybe in the past, but that are trying to have a better life for them and or their families. And so very supportive of Phase 1, interested to see what collectively everybody comes together with for Phase 2. That, again, that roundtable feedback is going to be really important. And I'm also interested to hear what the community has to say, because I know we haven't gotten to the community yet too. But thank you for bringing this back. And I will tell the council that, you know, I hear you when it comes to Phase 1, and I think we're all on the same page from what I've heard so far about how people, you know, want to come up with a really good plan to provide these, you know, 2 to 4 units, and then with the potential to expand with our needs. And I'm prepared to advocate for that, and I think Cap Solano will absolutely provide additional funding sources and grant opportunities that we could utilize to really make this happen. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Wiley?
Thank you for the information. Could you go back to slide 13 for a minute? I just had a question, because I think that that slide shows what we would like to have, because it's in size 2, but this Keep People Housed and this BACS Homeless Prevention Solano County, is there something like that going on now, or is that just something that we would like to see?
Yes, so that is something that is being provided now through funding through Cap Solano JPA. So it would be making sure that we have a way to make the public aware, connect the public to those resources. Some people, as of right now, you have to apply online. So if someone doesn't have a computer, or maybe they need to receive assistance in applying, it's finding a way that we can support them to access those funds. But that is an active program right now that's being operated in the county.
Because that's the first important key. If we can keep people from becoming homeless and support them there, it's a lot less expensive than trying to fix it after it's too late. And at the meeting I was talking about today with retired teachers, there was a presentation about, you know, so many more of the homeless people are seniors, and seniors are finding themselves struggling when the rents are going up because the incomes and your teacher's pension from several years ago is not going up. So there were a lot of concerns with the increase of elderly, and also the people that are like one traumatic experience away. If they've had medical bills that put them, they're not able to pay their rent and things like that. So I am really interested in what we can do to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. And then secondly, I didn't really hear anything about mental health in your report until the very end, and then you did talk about it, but mental health is also one of the main causes, and many of the people that are homeless are struggling for mental health, so I would like to see that as more of a focus. And I did have a time to meet with leadership of the Archway Recovery in Fairfield about a month or 2 ago, and they have a very rigorous and dedicated program to deal with the addiction. And it takes several times, because there's not one magic bullet. But when you can deal with the addiction and the mental health, then you're more successful when you get into transitional houses and other things. So those are 2 things that are important. And another thing I didn't hear mentioned was it should be part of our Plan 1, I hope, was the Zoom court option that has come up a couple of times. So if we could have Zoom court in there to help people deal with their resolving their legal issues, that would be very helpful in our first plan as well. And I did attend the meeting at Cal Cities too. So it was 3 cities and the county. The county was a big player that had played with that. And they did put their area near an industrial area, and at first they thought it would be an issue, but it was very successful with their plan. Another thing that this is middle of October, and it was rainy for the last couple of days, so another thing I think that should be early on is looking at those temperatures again. We've talked about it before, but if we can look at the temperatures when we're talking about the warming center, I would like to do that. So I will just say that the people of Vacaville are very empathetic, and I have had more people talk to me about, oh, Jeanette, the homeless is on the agenda. Is there anything we can do? Oh, I'm glad you're talking about the homeless situation. So I think the people of Vacaville also want to see what we can do to help people from becoming homeless and help the homeless that we have, particularly going into the winter weather. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman.
Yes, thank you, Tamara. I read through this very thoroughly, made a lot of highlights in my notes, and I, too, am excited about supporting phase one of this. I just wanted to throw a couple things out. You know, I know how hard you and Gail and you, Skip, work, and a lot of our faith-based community to make a difference in our community, and my hat is off to you. And I feel like I could have done more along the way working with you guys. I've been on council now for 7 months, and maybe a little bit more interaction with you. I have had the opportunity to speak with homeless people in our community, and it was a pretty interesting conversation. I asked, you know, how'd you end up homeless? And he told me, and well, how'd you end up in Vacaville? And he said, well, I rode my bicycle here from Fairfield. I said, so you grew up in Fairfield? Yeah, I grew up in Fairfield. You know, he likes methamphetamines, and just told me that he came to Vacaville for safety. Because some of the camps in Fairfield are violent. You got to go out and produce every day. They've got camp bosses apparently at some of the camps where it's not very friendly. So he said he came here because there's good, you know, there's some feeding programs, but also for safety, you know. And I asked him, well, do you know other people that are coming here like that? And he said, yeah, if you were coming here from Vallejo, if you were coming from West Sacramento, if you were coming from Woodland. And he said, you know, I run into them, they come and they go. And so I started thinking about back in my day, there was a time in my life that I was on the streets, that I didn't have a home, and knew what it was like to be hungry. I had more of a rescue community. I just chose not to go to them because I wanted to keep living how I wanted to live. And what finally got me was ending up in jail for about 90 days, and I didn't like that very much. That wasn't fun, but that was a turning point for me. And you know, sometimes I hear we can't arrest our way out of that, and I had much more mental capacity. And I like what you said, Jeanette, about mental illness, because that's the one area I think that we need to focus on heavily. You know, there was just a presentation made in Orinda over the weekend for Mark. I can't remember Mark's last name that died. Yes, and interacted with his sister via email the last couple of days, and there's a great documentary on him. They actually closed out the Senate on the 25th of September, honoring and bringing to light Mark's life and the rough road that his entire family had with trying to help him, only to be battling against county, local politics, you know. And so a friend of mine is the head of NAMI for Vacaville, and I think that there needs to be a lot more focus on mental health. As far as for permanent solutions for them. But Tamara, you have done a really good job. I haven't done a really good job for you, and I vow to do a better job working with you and on your behalf in the future. So I've had some shortcomings there, and I apologize for that. But with that being said, there's a couple of things. The industrial warehousing that Councilwoman Wiley was talking about, it seems like that's a really good, if we could perhaps do something like that where we could use it for multi-purposes, for maybe some shelter, a place to have an operations center. And then the other thing is, you know, with the Opportunity House and the great job that Opportunity House does, I would like to see us head more in that direction, in like spreading it out around Vacaville a little bit. You know, I don't ever want to see us buy a motel and place a bunch of unhoused homeless in there. I've gone with you and others on the council here, and it just seems like it's a concentration of homeless, it's a concentration of unhoused, it's a concentration of a lot of people that have their dogs, and these guys that's all they got in life is their dog, you know, and I don't want to separate that, but I would love to see us expand upon Opportunity House, the way Opportunity House is doing things. I would love to see perhaps Vacaville purchase another 8-unit apartment complex somewhere, not concentrated in the same area, but perhaps somewhere else, so that we don't have a huge concentration of unhoused in one area. We have it spread out, and basically, a lot of times, not always, but when you move into a neighborhood, you want to kind of assimilate to that neighborhood. And so I think spreading it out around town is a good idea, but it also has to serve that community that has transportation needs, that are trying to dig out of a hole, that are trying to figure out how to just get clean so that you can get a shower, so that you can go to a job interview in some clean clothes and have a chance to crawl out and dig out. So, and I know that you guys, Gail, work really hard with getting people to appointments. I would also love to see us, I know that a lot of people, they get written up, they've got to go to court. They don't have a way to get to court. So I know that it's been suggested that we perhaps look at having a Zoom court here in Vacaville where we can assist some of these people so that it doesn't turn into a failure to appear, failure to pay, failure to, to do anything. So I know that's a challenge. So we got a lot of challenges here, but in talking to some of the city council members, and we all spent some time this last week at the League of Cities, and I'm pretty sure there's not a person on this council that doesn't have a heart for and want to do something in our community, but we also don't want it to specifically fall heavily on the taxpayers in our community too, right? Because we have that. We have some people that just go, I don't want all these homeless people here. I mean, we're listening, we listen to complaints about people that, they don't bring their garbage cans in. Can you do something about it? It's been 3 days, I mean, we get all kinds of strange complaints as council, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. But one thing I'm not in favor of also is, and I read it throughout this report a couple of times, is tapping into Measure M money to do this. I think Measure M is already pretty heavily burdened with a lot of, I mean, we've spent our past, present, some of our future Measure M money, and I just don't think there's enough in that pot to go around for this that we have to go. I like the fact that our opiate settlement agreement of what is it, 3.9 million, I think that's spread out over the course of 4 or 5 years of that settlement money, and finding other ways. But we are out of money, I mean, the city's out of money, and so if we're going to be spending this money and the taxpayers are saying, what are you doing with our tax dollars? We don't want it spent on this. So, we're, as council members, as community leaders, we are also to be accountable, And then I also know that there's some parents of homeless people, that homeless children in our audience tonight, and I've heard some of their suffering and the things that they're going through with their children, and I know that there's epidemics going around in these camps of syphilis and sexually transmitted diseases, and we end up with some of our minors that end up into these camps, and get victimized because they chose to run away or they're trying to escape something terrible that's going on at home. So we have to do more. And so I know I'm rambling around, I'm all over the case, and my councilwoman didn't turn this over on me, so anyways, that's about all I got.
Thanks, Councilmember. All good information. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public, but as I do, I see the Executive Director of the Opportunity House and also a Planning Commissioner, Ashley Banta. I hope that you're going to come to the podium and say something tonight, because I'll say this on behalf of the council, and I think it's pretty powerful. You know what you're doing, and we could listen and we could learn a lot from you. So as these things happen, the roundtable is the place that when we bring things together, that's where we learn a lot more, and I've learned a lot from you. So the podium is open to anyone wishing to speak, and again, I certainly want to hear from you as well.
Hi there. I'm going to take off my arts and culture hat and put my healthcare hat on. My name is Wanda Cook, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Archway Recovery Services. We are an addiction medicine organization, nonprofit, licensed by DHCS. If you do a Google search, you'll find that Google thinks that 40% of the Solano County homeless can be diagnosed with a substance use disorder. I have 95 residential treatment beds in Solano and Napa County. Of those 95 residential treatment beds, they are 95% of the full. Of all of those people in those beds, 85% of them are identified as unhoused. Okay? This is, if we're going to solve this problem, this is a substance use disorder problem in large part. And we absolutely have to address what this is. And when you're cold, wet, and hungry, you're going to use, because it makes you feel better. But Archway is dedicated to helping people be better. And so if we're going to move forward and come up with a housing plan, come up with a homeless plan, it's going to be very important. I appreciate what you said. We cannot silo our services. We have to understand what everyone brings, what Opportunity House brings, what faith-based organizations bring, and what licensed addiction centers bring. You may not know fully, but there's an enormous amount of funding that comes through the DMC ODS, Drug Medi-Cal ODS system, organized delivery system. And all of this is paid for through Medi-Cal. I have 80 SLE beds. They're paid for through Medi-Cal. ECM, Enhanced Care Management, is a source for those who, even if you're not addicted to drugs, can help in your navigation efforts, and it's paid for by Medi-Cal. So I'll just put that forward. We're here to help, and we're here to continue the conversation and solve this problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Mayor and Council, I'm Tony Smith, but that was a good presentation. Interesting. I always thought that, this is just a comment on this, the state cut the budget on state hospitals during Reagan. So where did they all go? A lot of them have issues, they end up out in the street. So when they cut the budget, it became the city's problems, county's problems, okay? So it started there to balance the budget. So it's a shame that it ended up like this, because all they spend money anyway. They should reopen the state hospitals. That would help a little bit. It's not going to solve the whole problem, but that would be a good issue, that would help, Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Carley, Vice Mayor Chapman, and council members. Thank you all for your thoughts on her plan, on Tamara's plan. I think she's done a wonderful and thorough job. I as well listened to all of your council meetings and hear all your feedback, and have had multiple conversations with each of you about homelessness and the different stakeholder perspectives, from the community's lens, from the public safety's lens, from the unhoused person's lens, from the community benefits lens, and from the faith-based lens, and working with Tamara and hearing this plan. I think she's done a wonderful job at taking all of those things into consideration, and this plan really comes up, really addresses in a sizable and scalable manner a way that is an easy way to implement doable solutions. I know I hear a lot back like, well, we don't want to do something crazy and big, and like we don't want to grow too fast, and all of these ideas are things that can be implemented that will make really impactful solutions that will make a difference in the lives of the people that we serve daily. Opportunity House is going to be presenting in 2 weeks at City Council, so a lot of the questions that you had about increase in seniors, increase in youth, workforce questions, transitional housing questions, a lot of that stuff will be able to give you a lot of data on that. As well as the prevention and the diversion, the idea of like the rental assistance, how far shallow subsidy really goes to keep people housed and prevent them from entering the shelter system, the importance of HMIS, the importance of coordinated entry, and again, this plan really helps put all of these different siloed and pieces together in a coordinated effort. And so thank you guys for always supporting Opportunity House, and we look forward to presenting our annual report in 2 weeks to you. And as always, I'm open to any phone calls or questions that you may have about homelessness. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sure there'll be some more questions on your next presentation. Not here, but when you come present, then it'll be, what are your ideas?
Good evening, council, staff, and public. I couldn't help but, if I may share a few comments about your presentation today. And let me just say that I'm impressed with your concern, your lengthy discussion about this very difficult problem we have, not just in our community, but also in our American society. You're not unique. It gets uglier as you go to the bigger cities, Oakland, Sacramento. I mean, it's horrors. And I don't know whether that trend is going, whether it's going backwards or forward, you know. I know you're trying to do something positive with your staff and that, and I think it's really important that we, the sooner we get people off the street, the better off we're going to be, not just as a community, but as an American society. And I think you know what I'm talking about. I see still a lot of people in Vacaville begging, you know, and I don't know, even a simple act of giving money to people, and, you know, I've never encountered an ungrateful homeless person when you give them a few dollars and they say, well, thank you, you know, or God bless you or something, you know, and to me that's hopeful. I think they're all good. We can't afford to lose people like that. So anyway, I just want to say that I encourage you to keep up and keeping alive. But I am concerned because what I heard from the numbers here, I think you mentioned 150, was it families or individuals? Because in the past, I've heard 75. So that tells you where we're going. We're doubling in the number of homeless people. And if we don't do it together, nobody's going to do it. And if you don't take the leadership in that, nobody's going to do it. You know, yes, we've got nonprofits, but they're also going down. Even Opportunity has not immune. They closed up a shop over it. You know, a lot of places that are affordable for a lot of poor people, they're going down. Was it Dollar? I forget. You know, the Dollar Tree, whatever. I don't know. Those where you get cheap food, but you know, spreading the word and use the libraries. The library is the best resource. If you need people to get access to computers, go there. They'll teach you they'll not only give you access to computers to get the help you need, but also they'll teach you how to use those computers to make them a tool. And you know, so whatever we can do, I encourage you. And again, I applaud you for your efforts and your staff, and I hope it's not restricted to you, it's all of us, or we're going to have a bigger problem that we don't want to face later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm back. First of all, I want to say this report that's been presented is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. We had the opportunity to review it and talk about it, and this is huge for Vacaville. And Ted, for your question about the homeless and the importing of them, very few. Very, very few. I'd say 95% are homegrown, and usually you know that right away because they're the most polite. When we have some of the others come in, we know right away they're not from here. They don't say thank you, they're demanding. Our homeless truly appreciate everything that's given to them. But I want to make a couple of comments. First of all, O House is a gem of this city. I mean, it absolutely is. You can't say anything negative about O House. But I want to point out that O House serves a different segment of our population. O House is a dry shelter. No drugs, no alcohol. The majority of our homeless have some sort of addiction, and 64% 64% suffer from mental illness. Of that 64%, they estimate that 52% self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. And by drugs and alcohol, fentanyl is one of the #1 drugs of choice in Vacaville. We're not immune to the national crisis. Also, the Homeless Roundtable is not just a faith-based organization. The Homeless Roundtable, we have representatives from almost every nonprofit that deals in homelessness, including different departments and agencies within the county. We have guest speakers each month. We've had Solano Connect with the HMIS system, which, by the way, OHouse is one of the registered facilities for that program. And then I also want to, in my last minute, remind the council and the public that on November 1st at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Orchard Avenue Baptist Church, the district attorney has organized a Clear the Warrants event, where anybody who has been issued an LLMC, which is a low-level misdemeanor warrant in the county of Solano, can come that day and stand before a pro bono judge and attorneys and take the opportunity to have bench warrants and misdemeanor crimes taken care of. And when you talk about the bench warrants that Councilman Fremo did, many of our homeless will have 4, 5, 6, 7 bench warrants for failures to appear. Not only are their cases usually assigned to Fairfield, but many times also to Vallejo. So this is an opportunity to eliminate those warrants, save a whole lot of money, because remember, each time they stand before a judge, it's $70,000 out of the taxpayers' money. So this is a great event. It's open to the public, and we will have a resource fair in the church hall. Workforce development's going to be one of our main representatives, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mayor and council members, thank you. Thank you for asking your staff to put this report together. Thank Ms. Colden and your staff for the great report. But as we all know, that phase 2 is going to be a tough lift. You know, phase 1 is kind of the easy ducks. We can take care of them, not a lot of cost to them. Phase 2, we're going to have to be creative. But I will give you my word that I will do everything I can to look at other opportunities of grants, any other funding, and I don't want the city to think, well, we're going to have to do everything ourselves. As we've said many times at this podium, that we're here as a community to help our city leaders be successful. So with that said, I'd like to talk about phase 1. Again, another thank you. The Homeless Roundtable, used to be the chair of it, Mayor, and then COVID hit and things kind of went south on us. But we feel that there's great value in the Homeless Roundtable and hope that your staff starts to participate, because we learn a lot from each other, and we can certainly learn a lot from Ms. Colden and her staff. Strengthening regional coordination through CAP Solano. I didn't hear Ms. Holden, if I can, talk about the 211 system. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Because I tried that out today. I dialed 211. There was voice activation, and it said, what county are you from? Are you experiencing homelessness? Are you going to be homeless in the next 14 days? But one of the important things was you could register for the HMIS. And that's important because you're put into a system that will identify you and the needs that you have. I don't know the particulars, but I've been told it's a system that if you're not enrolled in it, you're not going to be able to take advantage of different programs that are available. If Ms. Colden could talk about this Clean Streets workforce. I remember when Councilmember Nolan Sullivan had some sort of Clean Streets project. And I'm not sure, is that the same thing? And the reason that I bring it up is Gail and I had talked to some of the homeless and said, you know, look around. it's a mess, isn't it? And they've agreed it is a mess. So they volunteered that we could put a work day together, get Recology to bring out a dumpster, and they were willing to clean up their own camps. Now, one of the homeless told her friend, she said, she's since passed, unfortunately, she said, you pack it in, you pack it out. Well, they've kind of forgotten about that right now. So I'm going to be very quick. The last thing, there's a lot of talk about mental health, drug, and alcohol. I think in your budget, your maybe 24 budget, there was $58,000 budgeted for mental health. If we're going to get folks, and I'm about getting folks working again, but we have a few things we got to do. We got to address their mental health, drug, and alcohol. I ask people, you ready to go to work? Yeah. But they admit that I got some issues. So I see I've run over my time, but again, I want to thank each and every one of you. I think it's a wonderful start, and thank you for your effort.
Yeah, thanks, Skip. I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment period of this and bring it back. And Tamara, I don't know if you had any additional comments. Most of the council's already given you direction. I do believe that one of the things that I will say is the state of California spent over 5 years around $24 billion on homelessness, and went from 150,000 to 180,000. So it's a sign of going in the wrong direction. The city of Vacaville doesn't provides very limited support through our FRC for counseling. We don't focus on the mental health, and so this is one of those things that I think the council, and I just want to say I agree as well, but a lot of the funding probably needs to be coordinated with the county on how we do that, and you would layer the services. I'm glad the comment was made, the roundtable. Legal services, the education systems, the superintendent schools would be there. It is a cross-section, and it was open to the public, and so sometimes I would say that for 7 years, basically doing the roundtable was one of the things at first, it's like, well, why is the chief of police doing it? Well, the reality is after a while, it wasn't about me, it was about the community. It was just the platform, and the platform is necessary. We learn from each other. And I used to tell a story. If there's an organization, whether it's an NGO, faith-based, we want to help serve or feed, what's your goal? Well, we're serving 50. Well, what's your goal? And I think, Gil, you remember this. Your goal is 0. It's what are you capable of doing until you get there. That's always the goal. And so everyone began to work together. And the theme was, do not leave this meeting without meeting someone you don't know and figuring out how you can work together. That's what this community is about. And so the commitment I think that you're seeing from this council is where the council was not necessarily giving a policy directions. The roundtable is not to be a place for policy. This board is, but this council needs to be listening to the community, and there's ideas. I know sometimes people have said, well, we invite the council to come. Unfortunately, it would be very complicated to have many people coming, and so that gets complicated, but I'm glad that we're stepping in the right direction here. And again, there's a lot more to come from this, but I appreciate hearing from all my fellow council members. Vice Mayor Chapman.
Thank you. I would like to, well, before I do that, one thing that hadn't been stated during the discussion, that is the hospitals. They would welcome an opportunity to come to be around the table.
They always were. Every hospital.
Yes, used to have.
Kaiser, North Bay, they were all part of it.
Right. I was on Solano Coalition for Better Health on their executive board, and all the CEOs of every hospital was on that board. They are going to be happy to hear, if that's the decision of the council, that we're going to move forward with assisting the homeless in the area. Because when it's cold or cold especially and wet, our homeless go to the emergency rooms.
Very expensive.
And it's very expensive, very. So with that, I would like to make a motion that we move forward with phase 1 of,
So, I think this doesn't require a motion. I think it's the direction is that we are giving.
okay.
There's no resolution for this, but effectively, I think staff has heard enough that unanimously everyone, you've taken a lot of notes, I know. This has been very good, very, very thoughtful, so.
Great job.
Yes, so thank you very much. And I'm sure there'll be more to come with this, but I want to say thank you to our partners in the community that are involved in that, because it's the only way we solve it as we work together. So, Madam City Clerk, what is next on the agenda?
Our next item is a resolution authorizing participation in the Pro-Housing Designation Program, and Associate Planner Demira Powell will be giving the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Carley, members of the council, and all those in attendance. So for background on this item, on April 8th, 2025, the City Council held a study session for the Pro-Housing Designation Program. Staff was directed at this meeting by City Council to conduct community engagement for the program and return to City Council with a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application for the program. And to recap and give some context, in July 2019, the state enacted Assembly Bill 101, establishing the Pro-Housing Designation Program. The program is administered by the State Department of Housing and Community Development. Jurisdictions apply to HCD to receive the designation, and program benefits include preference for consideration, priority processing, or bonus points for funding programs. And it also includes eligibility for the Pro-Housing Incentive Program, or PIP for short. And on the screen are a list of some funding programs that are associated with the PDP program. The funding applies to affordable housing, transportation, transit, infrastructure, climate investment, and capital improvement projects. Other funding programs may be added in the future. Jurisdictions with the Pro-Housing designation are eligible to apply for the PIP program. And the PIP program is grants a base funding award that is based on the population size and is granted to accelerate affordable housing production and preservation. It could also go to infrastructure for these affordable housing projects. Jurisdictions may receive a bonus amount of up to $500,000 based on how high they score and the application for the Pro-Housing Designation Program. And for context, the City of Fairfield was awarded $774,253 in 2024. As for the process for the program, first the city would conduct community engagement, then City Council would adopt and certify a formal resolution authorizing the city to submit an application for the program. Then the city would submit the application to HCD, and then HCD would evaluate the application and make a decision. As for the community engagement that was conducted for this program, a PDP webpage was created on the city website, which contains a public notice for community meetings and information about the program. It included a community survey, and the PDP application and draft pro-housing scoring sheet was also posted. A community meeting was held on August 14th, 2025, and the program received positive feedback. And as for the application, there are two components of it. The first being threshold requirements or a set of qualifying conditions that cities must meet. And the second is a pro-housing policy score sheet. The score sheet lists the existing or proposed city policies and programs that are considered pro-housing, and each policy or program is assigned a score based on HCD criteria. Some may receive bonus points, and a minimum score of 30 is required for the designation. And on the screen are a list of 4 categories of what each policy and program could fall into. They include topics such as zoning, providing financial subsidies, and reducing construction and development costs. And here are some examples of existing Vacaville pro-housing policies that are included in the draft score sheet. They include actions such as increasing the maximum residential density of zoning districts, providing incentives and modifications in development standards, and providing funding for the development of affordable home ownership. To conclude, the PDP is an acknowledgement of existing policies and programs for facilitating housing development. The program does not require any additional action, impose additional state requirements or procedures, or affect a jurisdiction's review of housing development proposals. The city has existing policies and programs that exceed the minimum score requirement for the program, and the city qualifies for the designation. And staff are requesting that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the submittal of the city's PDP application to HCD and participation in the pro-housing designation program. And staff are available to take any
Thank you for the presentation. I don't see any questions. I know that we meet the objectives. I'm going to go ahead and open up to the public for any comment.
Tom Philippi, could you put up the screen that had the orange box in the corner, please? I would love the city of Vacaville to qualify for this. They don't. Favorable zoning and land use, it takes us 6 years. Two of the projects we had recently took 6 years to process. Acceleration, that's 6 years. Reduction in cost of development costs. You folks are looking at raising your building permit fees 50%. You're not reducing costs. You're looking at adding CFDs. This is, I've been doing work here for 46 years. This is the most pro-housing, that's not a word, is it? The least pro-housing this community has ever been. And it's so frustrating. I would love the city to qualify for this. In my opinion, you don't. I already know of a letter and 2 or 3 that may be going to HCD opposing this. So it's up to you. I know most of you are frustrated with me and my positions on these things, but nobody is more pro-housing in this community than I am. Nobody wants housing more than I do. Affordable housing, workforce housing, every kind of housing. I have devoted my life to providing housing in this community. And we don't here. It's so hard. I tell my clients before they show up, and I'm retired, so my former clients, it's so tough here. It is so very, very difficult to get housing built in this community. Just my thoughts. I thought I would share. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it back to the council.
Rich had his hand up in the back.
Oh, Rich, I'm sorry, I didn't. You're back there in the, it's kind of dark. Let me turn on your microphone. Go ahead.
Yeah, same thing. And you know, I'm trying to process different projects in your town. And I've been working here for 35 years plus, not as long as Tom. And it used to really be a great town to do business in. And you were pro-housing, and we used to get things done. In your own housing element, number 2 is assist in development of affordable housing. We try and do that. We've heard you. Number 3 is remove governmental and other constraints to housing development. And right now, I'm living in the most constraints that I've ever lived with in Vacaville's housing. Every time we turn around, we're running into a brick wall. We're doing it right now. 10 months to get to find out what the fees are going to be. 10 months. That cost us money. Every month costs us money, and we're waiting, and we don't know what we're dealing with. And why does anything take 10 months to get an answer on? Everything that we do is taking a long time, and time is expensive to all of us. when you come to these things and you read what your own housing element says, I don't think you're living up to it. I'd love for you to live up to it. I've offered my time to help and support to try and figure out ways to streamline things, but no one wants to listen. So anyway, I'm just letting you know that with your housing element, with the 4 that are up there, I'd sure like to see them happen. And if there's anything that I can do representing some of the people in the development community, we're here to help, not just complain. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead now and bring it back to the council. Sorry, I didn't see that your hand was up, so. In fact, actually, from this particular issue, I mean, these are the 4, how many actually categories are there that is part of their application? It's a lot more than 4, correct?
Yes, there are sub-actions, descriptions for different types of actions and programs within each of the 4 categories, and they're all objectively established by HCD, and based off of staff's analysis, we appear to meet those objective descriptions.
So this is a designation that from HCD that allows us the potential of receiving grants that could also provide financial subsidies. So there's a benefit if our policies already exist to meet an application that they would have to certify. Today is simply just saying we meet enough of what the state believes, and I hear the public comment that we don't feel that City of Vacaville is living up to it. I see that those are 2 separate issues. One is how do we benefit from a program where there's financing, there's funding available, versus how do we actually get to the place in our community where we can actually live up to the sentiment and the feeling of what it feels like to be a pro-housing city. So I just want to make that delineation between the 2, and if you had any comments.
Just to echo your point that there are always opportunities for improvement, but this is based off of what we're doing now from a minimum qualification standpoint, and the funding that could be received through this program could be used to assist developers and development to further achieve housing goals that we all have.
I appreciate that. And I'm just going to just share my comment, not to belabor this, and that is when we're trying to achieve financial benefits, it's like, do we not apply for a grant because we don't feel that we're as good as we should be, or do we qualify? And we often will apply, and we realize that we may or may not get a grant. But you don't get them if you don't apply. And so there is an opportunity here. That's completely separate than the sentiment that I've heard both of you share on how do we get there. And I've had conversations with both of you, and I have adamantly tried to focus on how do we begin to actually get projects faster, and how do we do things where we're not waiting years. And so the commitment, at least for me, and the hope is that from this council and from staff, is to focus on those improvements. A couple months ago, we went through and received a report from Aaron Morris about that. So there's a roadmap to getting to what that needs to look like, and the city has a ways to go, but under the direction that we're on now, it's like, how do we get to that? And that's a process we're in. So, Councilmember Silva.
I understand, like, there's some of the frustrations, and sometimes things don't make sense, but I just want to point out items 11A, items 11B were approved rezoning to support the proposed developments. Those developments were designed to provide the desired favorable zoning and land use for that particular projects. The next item is going to be a project that, through some back and forth, there's a change in that. So in that sense, like, there's been through all of that, there's been approved plans. Sometimes the plans change on as far as like the direction that the city needs to take. Sometimes the plans change based on the economy and where the developer needs to take it, and all of those combined. But I'm just pointing out, like, we approved two pro-housing projects. Are they affordable? Nope, but that wasn't the design of those. So just wanted to share that.
All right, well, thank you very much. I don't see any other, Councilmember Stockton?
I motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, thank you very much. Your comments are noted. Thank you for sharing. And we'll move into your item.
Our next item is consideration of initiation of a general plan amendment, changing the land use designation of a vacant 9.91 acre site located at the northwest corner of Leisuretown Road and Redstone Parkway from residential high density to residential medium density. And Senior Planner Albertino and Vivan will be presenting.
Good evening, Council. This is a business item regarding the Alamo Creek subdivision. It's a general plan amendment initiation. We received a request to initiate a general plan map amendment to change the general plan land use designation from residential high density to residential medium density for the Alamo Creek subdivision, as it's called. The site is located at the northwest corner of Leisuretown Road and Redstone Parkway. The graphic on the right-hand side shows the approximate location of where it is. This map is intended to show the greater Southtown area as it's been developed over different phases. You'll see Southtown Phase 3. If you go out there now, there's building homes. The subject site that's identified in red is the subject of a formerly approved apartment site, but now the applicant is looking at a different proposal. This site is 9.91 acres. As I mentioned, it's a general plan map amendment request. Current designation allows for 20.1 to 30 units per acre, but the applicant is proposing something slightly different. They're requesting to change it to residential medium density that allows for 8.1 to 14 units per acre. There's a whole host of additional entitlements that would be required in addition to this general plan map amendment, including environmental analysis, rezoning, a tentative map, as well as a major design review. This graphic shows what that change would look like on our general plan map. We did public outreach. We sent out a notice for this particular hearing tonight. We sent it out to 438 public notices within a 600-foot radius of the project. We also held a neighborhood meeting on October 2nd to solicit feedback from the community. There were concerns that were expressed during that meeting about traffic and circulation, dumping out onto Burgundy Street, and potential overflow parking into existing neighborhoods. The initiation process for a general plan amendment needs City Council approval. City Council could approve or deny this request to initiate it. Approval of the initiation doesn't guarantee that it's going to get approved in the future. The initiation only allows the applicant to be able to proceed with submitting a formal development application that would require planning review, but also it would come back before the Planning Commission and the City Council at a future date. These are the required findings that would be required at that point in the future to be able to be met for this general plan amendment. The next steps is if the City Council initiates the general plan amendment, then staff would begin with further evaluation, initiating environmental review for the project, and then eventually returning with a recommendation on the entire project. Alternatively, the City Council could decline to initiate the amendment or could choose to modify the initiation by providing a different designation recommendation. Staff thinks that this is a good idea because it would provide an opportunity to evaluate the entire development project as a whole. We also think it's a good idea because the applicant's proposing a different type of housing that would be for entry-level home buyers. If the general plan amendment is initiated, staff would conduct a more thorough analysis that would involve consistency evaluation with the general plan goals, policies, and actions, as well as a variety of different aspects that we'd have to take a look at with this. Our recommendation is to adopt the subject resolution and allow the applicant to be able to move forward with this initiation. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is also here, as well as the applicant's engineer, to answer any questions about this proposal.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions, but I'm sure the council might. So, Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, no, so the only question, so number one, just for all those that were involved Sound like the neighbors were very appreciative of that further engagement. So I think like this is going to be something that's much more well received. So I look forward to supporting it in that sense. The only challenge is the concern is about the parking situation. So is that something that's finite today, or is that something that can still be worked out with the engineers, developers, and so forth?
It can still be worked out with engineers.
All right, so that's just one concern, and I think that's just one. I think the main concern there is if there's limited parking on the street, then that impacts the surrounding neighbors, and I think we need to try and dissect that a little bit more. So.
Councilmember Wiley?
Also, just a follow-up question with that is, besides the parking, the neighbors were concerned, the residents, about the entry, since all of it was only on Burgundy Street. And so will that also be looked at down the road as well, or is that a done deal right now?
That will be looked at further on down the road.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public, but also if the developer, Rich, do you want to speak? Yes, you do.
Both of these are being addressed right now. In fact, I turned in a second map showing that we've addressed the parking, and I think we can address it a little further. As far as the two entries off of Burgundy, that is where we've been told consistently that you want them, due to the fact that we can't come in from Leisure Town. So but if there's a better way, we'll be glad to adjust to it. All these lots are all designed for workforce housing. All the product that will be on there will be 1,900 square foot or less. So we're trying to stay down into the, I guess what we call today the affordable range. So just gives you an idea on the project that we're targeting. Look forward to working with the city on this to try and get it done as quickly as possible. Our goal on this is to break ground in spring if at all possible. That's our goal. That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions while I'm here?
Well, obviously, the only question that came up is you say that you've been directed to put all the entrance on that one street, but that's where the complaints have come. When there was a prior project, I do believe that there's a controlled intersection that's to the south. It's an uncontrolled intersection that's to the north. Part of that, and I would say to staff, is well, I'm not a traffic engineer, is considering the ways where you're going to enter into a neighborhood and where you're going to need to get to a controlled signal to go northbound, how can you route traffic and help the developer design what that looks like? So it may not necessarily all be in front of these neighbors' homes when those side streets really don't have anything on them. And so consider that kind of traffic flow impact when you're doing it. So, because I remember that kind of came up last time when it was about traffic. So thank you, Councilmember Wiley. With that, do I have a motion? I'm going to go ahead and close public comment unless there's somebody else who wanted to comment. Come forward. Sorry. Got ahead of myself.
No, I just wanted to come out and say that I'm fully in support of the project. I do recognize the importance of having higher density projects within the city, but, and I don't know if this law still is around and relevant, but I remember a law was the no net loss law, and basically the idea is cities shouldn't be reducing the density and zoning. And so, but since there's so many other sites that can allow for that higher density, that more than makes up for, you know, the loss of density on this project, if that makes sense. So I guess my question is for staff, is that still a relevant law? Is that something that they need to fully assess to show HCD that, hey, even though we're lowering the density on this lot, overall, it's still, we're still fine on RENA and the other,
Housing
yeah, the other metrics that you have to comply with regard to density. And then also really excited about offering for sale a smaller type house. That's something in Vacaville you just don't see a lot. Townhouses and just smaller houses. And this project, I'm kind of imagining it's like the one across from Fire Station 75. And I drive by there a lot. I don't see that the parking is really a problem, but that's a much, much smaller project, much smaller site. So I don't live on Burgundy. I'm right, but I have to go on Burgundy to get to my court. I'm just happy it's not 236 units of apartments and it was going to be very unwieldy. And I was just imagining that I'll never be able to park on the street or anywhere in our entire neighborhood. And so I'm just happy it's less units. I'm super happy that the city's, hopefully the developer's allowed to do this and offer a smaller type home to families that are newer, and because it's really hard to buy a house now, as you know. It just keeps getting harder and harder for home buyers. So it sounds like it's harder for developers and it's harder for buyers. And but anyway, the last question is the apartment site. There was going to be an entrance off Leisure Town. It was kind of, and then another one, off Burgundy. But this is both on Burgundy. I don't know why. I don't know if it just ruins the whole plan if you make the entrance off Burgundy, just kind of break up the traffic so it's not all flowing on Burgundy. That's all I have to say. But thank you so much, and I'm just I'm hoping that you'll support and consider the zoning and reducing the density. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will now go ahead and close the public comment. I have lights on, but beforehand, there's 2 questions there if you care to answer those questions.
Sure. The no net loss law is still applicable and it's still relevant. It does not apply to this project because it was not identified in our housing element to satisfy the obligation for a regional housing needs assessment or allocation.
And the other was already about parking and.
Correct, yeah.
So I think that's already been addressed, so thank you. With that, I do have lights. Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, I just want to say I've received a lot of positive feedback from the neighbors in that area. Very appreciative of staff and the developers to come up with something that is going to provide a unique housing that we've been talking about for a long time. I know there's other lights, but I want to make a motion to adopt the subject resolution now, if I can.
So we have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay. Second. So we have a motion, and Councilmember Ritchie seconded. We have further discussion. So with that, I believe Councilmember Wiley.
So I'm supportive of this project also, but I do see that there is a need for high-density housing. And I think that when Mr. Filippi was involved with planning this from the get-go, that was always marked as high density because it was going to be part of the general plan. And so I think that if there's any way possible, what we have talked about as a council before, if we could build the apartment first, so then people see when they're moving in. The issue is when people move in and then I don't want that in my neighborhood, which is what we're facing right now on Potter's Court because the people are saying, I live here, I don't want that. And I know the issue has been, but you need the income from the apartment and you can't get that to do the building. But if there's any way possible, we need to let people know this is zoned high, medium, high residential, and an apartment will be here so that we don't get in the same situation again, because that's been 20 years that it's been going to be an apartment. So I'm glad it's not. I'm glad we have a new resolution, but I just want to say, let's continue focusing on letting people know what the plan is.
Councilmember Freemel.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to read off regarding the compliance with the housing element, which prohibits the city from reducing, but you've already covered that. So the other thing that I had was I've heard positive feedback about this too, reducing it from multifamily. And I also did hear if we could have right turn only entrance and exit going in and out onto Leisure Town, maybe that would alleviate some of people's concerns in the neighborhood. I don't know if it pencils in or what, but, just there's other places along Leisure Town Road where it's only right turns coming out and it's only right turns going in. So that's it.
Councilmember Ritchie.
I'll try to be fast. I know it's late. This is a great project. I'm excited just to have more of this opportunity. And while we're down in Cal Cities, I was able to escape to two neighborhoods I really love. Belmont Shores in Long Beach and Seal Beach. And there's two areas in that city that have the average house. They're absolutely amazing. They're 1,200 square feet. And it really harkened back to just seeing that part of the city and seeing how amazing those houses and neighborhoods are, having that model come back to Vacaville. I mean, I grew up in houses that were never over 700 square feet, and I was happy as can be. That was the best. I was grateful and thankful. 900 square feet, that's a big house. I mean, 900 square feet, 1,500 square feet. I just hope that we really expedite the process, but the Senate bill passed that limits there's a fee equation for the lot size now, so we can't control that in the city level anymore. But I don't want to make sure this project, I want this house to be delivered. I want them to be able to provide homes to people that can afford them, to 1,500 square feet, 900 square feet. But we got to really work together. I know we have the DIF coming up, we have CFDs, but we have to make sure that the size of the lot, the size of the home, all come together in synergy with the cost to build and cost of ownership, because we can't have a small house with a big fee and make it unattainable. So we got to figure out how we all got to work together. One new house in Vacaville at the tax rate is equivalent of 5 to 6 old homes by the way the assessors give value. So it's amazing. For every new one home we build, and you sell it at $500,000 at 1.2%, we're in just as much income having 5 to 6 homes in an old neighborhood because of the way they assess value. So building new homes is very profitable for the city. We need money, but there's a lot of benefits, home ownership and tax revenue. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, and let's do what we can to not get in our own way.
All right, we have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So thank you very much. I appreciate the desire, and hopefully the previous item we're still working on. All right, thank you. With that, I believe what we have left for the public, our public business is completed. We will be going into closed session to finalize our final 2 items. There will not be anything to report out tonight. So we will stand in adjournment. Good night, Vacaville.